Happy New Year, everyone! It's officially 2024, and we're going to cover a very fun book. Welcome to Lore Ramblings. This is Adam, and oh my god, I'm exhausted. Don't know if I caught some type of illness, but I have been essentially sleeping like a bear for the last couple days. It's not been great. It has not been great.
Today has been especially great for me. I'm Tech Priest. Alabama lost a football playoff game. Hallelujah. They shouldn't have been there.
Wait, they actually
And
lost? Nice.
They lost to Michigan. They lost to Michigan. I also want to stress that Florida State should have gotten the opportunity to play in that game. They had a better record. They were a conference champion of a Power 5 conference. The only reason that Alabama was there is because Florida State's QB got hurt. That's it.
Where the
Only
problem
reason.
is, though, the problem is we don't live in the Pythagorean universe where the stats mean everything. We don't.
But yeah, they had to somehow sneak two SEC teams into there because of course they did.
No, I don't have sleeping problems, Dark Sun. Like I said, I think I think I might have caught the coof or something because I have been exhausted and my muscles have been hurting for the past couple days. It's just not been
and
nice.
I'm Imsit, and well, I'm happy to be here and starting the year off with Vampire.
I thought you were happy because the year
It's
ended
not.
also with Rackets getting catfished.
Oh God.
Oh, that was
But
that was something.
anyway,
Speaking of madness, illness, and death, say hello to one of the wilder Mage the Ascension books. Yeah, I don't know why the hell it's a Mage the Ascension book.
it's a Mage the Ascension book, written by James A. Moore. Uh, Additional material by Bill Bridges, Phil Brucato, and Andrew Greenberg.
So you know it's going to be a
I
wild ride.
yes, and it has the tarot cards here, and I don't even know what to say.
Let's see what we have. We have, I don't know the Queen of Pattern, but the Tower is not a good one. Death also represents change, and yeah, something really big changes in Chaos
Moon is also
Factor.
changed. The Mage, of course, is there. I think that's supposed to be the Hanged Man.
That might be the
And
Hanged Man. It's
the world, I
played
think, at the
directly.
bottom. That's either the devil or the fool at the bottom.
Looks like the
No,
fool.
I
Tell
think
which.
that's thankfully
I think
from
that's the
finding a
devil.
bunch. I think I have. No, I think it's two. Isn't two the world?
I don't know. Whatever. Anyway,
But you know with this tarot patterns that a lot of shit's gonna happen in this book.
so special thanks, by the way, to to the people involved. The best one of these is Brian Rat Daddy Campbell for his furry new office mate.
That's pretty good, but also Velveeta Factor
Velveeta Factor.
for sifting debris from the Cheese Whiz, and I'm just now envisioning a mage who uses one of their spheres just to artificially deconstruct Cheese Whiz to actually make better stuff out of it.
I do like
Then
Phil Thunder Bricato for rattling walls, brains, and minions of evil.
that's kind of fun.
Also, Free at Last, which I suspect Bridges might have been the poor bastard to design Sam Haight.
I'm not exactly sure, but all I know is that we did read the prologue to this before.
We did
So
for
we're not
the
going to do it
saga
again.
for the saga of Samuel Haight, the wildest character that ever existed in the world of darkness.
I mean, to give you an idea of this book, the level it is at, it opens with a fucking quote from a Nine Inch Nails song.
It does.
I don't fucking know.
Yep, I was up above it. Now I'm down in it. Well, shut up. What does it matter now? Yep, down in it. It also has a very gritty action opener.
Due to space limitations. Oh my god.
Oh yeah,
So Chaos
this
Factor
is
is
all
split
out
into
of
two
contention.
parts. Yeah.
The heck is the dude on the cover wearing?
Oh,
Silver Grizzly says.
well, okay. Let me show you.
I
So
don't fucking know.
this is
Like,
Sam Haight. This is Sam Haight at the end of his journey. So to understand who Sam Haight is, I'm gonna be very brief because he's a pretty big factor in the story section.
We did a 5-hour stream on the guy.
We did a
Like,
5-hour stream on the guy because he was in multiple books. He was a reoccurring antagonist for a variety of splats, or supporting character actually. So with that in mind, I'll just be very brief. He first appeared in what's known as the I forget the Falcon Foundation.
Falkenberg?
Falkenberg, thank you. He first appeared in Falkenberg, one of the very early werewolf splats. It was basically, I think, right after Rage or in New York, Rage Across New York. And what happened was he was a very interesting antagonist for werewolves to run into because he was wolf-blooded, he was wolfkin, who essentially out of bitterness for not becoming a guru, decided to take it out on those who did. He found a ritual to be able to essentially become one, and he is actually very interesting and dangerous because he knows exactly how the guru think. He exploits your rage and then rips you apart using it. He also exploits aggravated damage heavily. Very nasty guy. Also very good at using disposables to weaken you. He then appears in an oddball scenario where you're basically you're Sabat taking down essentially a demon trying to enter a horrible spectral entity entering the world, and he helps you try to stop it. From there, he kind of transcends into insanity because he joins a private military firm run by Pentex in the rainforest, and he goes full, almost comical action cheese. And this is when his character completely derails, although I think he kind of did a little bit with the Sabat story. And then he appears again trying to become a mage. And he has all of
appears in
these
a
templates,
mage
by
book.
the way.
Well, he's like a sleepwalker or something. He's a fucking I don't even know. Like,
Mary Sue?
no, it's not like that. It's more
Well, he
like
didn't start as one. He becomes one by the end, but that's more just because they kept adding
there's like
templates to him.
3 different people writing him or something. It's so weird. It's such a wild ride. Again, you sit through the stream. There's a lot of stuff that you can use for your own werewolf games and
I
your own.
sincerely recommend Sam Haight's first appearance is really good if you need to come up with a very dangerous hunter that goes after Guru. That's the type of guy you're probably aiming for if you really want an interesting and horrible challenge. He's actually still kind of entertainingly goofy in the rainforest one. It's when he gets
Yeah,
the
I
magic
mean,
that things fall apart.
I mean the
Oh yeah, he
the
also gained school
rainforest.
powers. He also gained like I think Tremere blood magic or something.
Yeah, he did. He has thaumaturgy. That's part of why he's in the New Orleans by Night book, and he shows up with that because of course he does. But
Which is his second
I
to
mean,
last
it made
appearance.
sense. It made sense for him originally to have a little bit of something like that because it was just a representation of, oh, his occult knowledge is really good. He knows like the basics of certain rituals, but it's like
It also gave him an
now
edge
it's
against Guru because honestly, a normal human taking on one of them, even though he's wolf-blooded, like yeah, he's not affected by delirium, but you're still
yeah.
fighting a goddamn werewolf
It's
in
not supposed
Krynos
to.
form.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, in the Valkenberg Foundation, it's not supposed to represent actual thaumaturgy as in like the discipline, but
Oh
more like
no, it was just
he
lore.
has rituals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he had occult,
I
spiritual
think.
rituals and lore because this was I think Valkenberg was made before Mage was fully finished because they were going,
Yes, it
hey, let's
was.
take Ars Magica and turn it into a setting for the World of Darkness.
Yes.
So
And
it's
they
weird.
went for it. I'll tell you that. Um, they kind of go down into this this start where they talk about Mexico City, and of course, Mexico City is crazy. It has 20 mages, 60 werewolves, and over 200 vampires.
Yeah, let's see. The primary mood in Mexico City is dark and paranoid. The supernaturals are all very aware of each other and are not happy with what they see. Mages, yeah, here's the thing. Mages, they may be the most powerful when they have prep time. It doesn't matter if the Guru, though, with Guru, because they can just cast Fist in Krynos form.
You need to
There's
And
turn
all
they're
them
there's
into
also the
chairs.
tough enough to
there's
maybe survive some of the spheres you throw at them.
there's
Yes,
also
but
the
then you just
issue
turn them into a
of
chair, and then you win.
There's also the issue of the Society of Leopold is also here.
Oh
They
yeah,
kind
they
of need
are.
to be.
Yeah,
Catholics.
why the fuck would they not be in Mexico City? Like, have you seen your average your average block in Mexico City? It's like, oh god, how
So
many churches are there?
also to give you an
You've got
idea,
mages, vampires, werewolves, and Catholic hunters.
well,
The
also
powder keg.
keep in mind that this is Mexico City in the 90s. This is not even 5 years. This is not even a decade after some of the horrible things that happened in the 80s in Mexico. This is like less than 10 years after the Dirty War.
And it's not gonna get much better.
Oh no, this is still during the dictatorship period of the Revolutionary Institutional Party. Like this is right at the butt end of its dictatorship period.
So,
So yeah, Mexico City is not in a nice place even during this time. It's even
yeah.
worse here, especially since the World of Darkness people had the giga-brained magical idea of throwing all of the evil factions, all of the most disgusting, awful antagonist factions in Mexico City.
Well, I mean,
Not just in
remember,
it, but running it. Running it from the shadows.
but again, remember, the world of darkness, much like how Donald Trump views reality, South America is the source of all evil. So we have the truth of it is here, which is why it's funny that the theme is hope.
It doesn't really feel like it should be.
Yeah. I'm just sort of
But yeah, the Camarilla grew in the traditions because this is back when the traditions were unabashedly the guys you were supposed to play. This is before Technocracy Inc. really got its rework.
this is also the their suggested reading is Love and Rockets, GURPS Aztecs. And National Geographic.
Oh, so
Don't mind
nothing
us, we're
about
both a bit
mod.
sick.
So nothing about history or pretty much a lot of modern.
Nope.
Well, no, because they were trying to make this kind of the rule of cool because this was a big story event.
Yeah.
Oh, I also realized something. They say Spanish pronunciations for words that are Nahuatl.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. This is kind of them not realizing. You know, the best part is they're saying this when they're probably using Castilian Spanish rather than Mexican Spanish.
Almost
I mean,
always.
yeah, the other thing could be is how Spanish pronounce it. So,
Well, to give you an idea, just saying "How are you" in Mexican Spanish is usually what was it? What was it? "Que onda" or something, rather than "Cómo estás." Like that's just one example I know off the top of my head. So, not exact. I know what they're trying to do because let's be fair, Nahuatl's a very painful language to pronounce right. I screw it up
yeah,
quite a bit.
it's that. Yeah, it's a whole different tongue. But
Yeah,
yeah,
like to give you an idea, Moctezuma is actually Moteco Zoma.
Yeah, they. Yeah.
I don't blame them for putting that here, especially since you're in Mexico City. But okay, let's get into okay, book one, Mexico City. Here we go. Oh, it's a Les Mis reference before it became popular. And so has been, so it's written on the doorway to paradise that those who falter and those who fall must pay the price.
And then we have.
I think that might actually be Sam in traditional garb.
I don't even fucking know,
I
man.
think that's Sam in traditional garb. I love how an
oh
actual
god,
pyramid is being used for a sacrifice.
he's a time traveler as well.
I don't even fucking know. Anyway,
He has to
few
get that. He has
cities.
to get that vampire blood.
But yes, few cities in the Gothic punk world seem more corrupt and polluted than Mexico City.
Uh,
Well,
Also,
yeah,
there's a.
because Mexico City also has a very bad smog problem. It actually rivaled Los
oh yeah.
Angeles.
There's 3 quotes in like 4 pages. Good fucking god, this book.
Yeah. Oh, from the prophet.
Um,
But you, children of space, you restless in rest, you shall not be trapped nor tamed. Your house shall not be an anchor but a mast. You shall not dwell in tombs made by the dead for the living. I have no idea what that even has to do with this book, but all right.
Chapter 1, well, the part 1 of Chapter 1 describes the history of the city from a first-hand point of view. This book is a grand total of how many pages is this?
140 or
Oh,
so.
oh wow.
It's surprisingly
And
short,
I
but
want to
it's
note
going to be insulting, insane, and extremely poorly thought out. This history.
135 of text because the last 4 are a hex map.
Let's be fair. I am going to probably not be entertained. Actually, I might be entertained. I might laugh at how
The art in this book is something else, I'll tell you that
the
much.
art's amazing, but I'm talking about the history.
Oh boy, are you
This
ready?
is going to be awful.
we
I'm gonna love it.
we start with the next quote, which is from an anonymous Aztec composer.
Poser.
Will I leave only this, like the flower that wither? Will nothing last in my name, nothing of my fame here on earth? At least flowers, at least songs.
I was there when. Oh god. Let's go back up
Huitzilopochtli.
to try to say it right because they do have it.
Huitzilopochtli?
Huitzilopochtli. We're gonna screw it up.
Let's just say Hootsie.
Actually, Pochly.
Huitzilopochtli.
Walked out of the ocean's waters and onto land. I knew him at the time when he came from to make his presence known. He walked boldly across the surface of the land, following an impulse that only he could hope to understand. Also, that skeleton is vibing with the right there in
That's
that
actually
picture.
based on what's the name of the figure? It's an actual mythical figure in that's very common in I believe in the coastal regions of Mexico and around the Caribbean, but mainly
Oh yeah. So
Mexico.
are you? The Aztecs originally came from Aztlan, the place of the herons. I'm pretty sure that that's not the actual translation, but I could be wrong on that.
I'm pretty sure it is not.
I need to look that up because that's
That
gonna bug me.
sounds incorrect.
Also,
It is
also
in fact the
Quetzalcoatl.
place of the herons, but it also might be the place of whiteness. Ah, fuck.
It's one or the other.
Next. Also, turns out Quetzalcoatl is a mage.
Yes, we covered that in our
We covered that in the
episode.
Samuel Haight book because, of
If you didn't
course,
know, this is a sequel to that because this isn't our first sequel on Dice Scum Live Ramblings, but this is the funniest one so far.
especially since this is thank goodness the traditional religion died out because oh man,
Apparently, it was entirely the job of a goddamn vampire.
not just a normal vampire because god forbid it's just a vampire. No, 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 not just a normal vampire, a Bali.
Yeah, so he took this once peaceful people
Because
and
of
turned
course
him
the
into a bunch.
Aztecs were peaceful.
Well, he's saying around 1,116 is when he did the changeover in their society, which we don't exactly have a huge amount of.
Well, you don't at all, since they had only oral saga at best.
Yes, that they eventually wrote
And
down, but still. He showed them the best way to forge weapons. I mean, they really didn't. They didn't really forge much. They did have some metalworking, but not like for weapons.
It was
It's
mostly
more
for
for ornamentation.
ornamentation. They
Yeah, I
usually
was about to
used
say it's
woodworking and stone napping.
yeah, because as it turns out, a big heavy.
It turns out if you put spiked obsidian teeth in a club, it has the same nasty effects as a sword, if not nastier.
Yeah, it's only good for maybe a couple of hits, but then you just flip to the other side where you've done the same thing and hit them a few more times.
And
They're
then
probably gonna
even when the
fucking
teeth
die.
break off, then you just bash them in the face with the club because it's made of a very powerful hard wood.
Very strong hardwood, yes. That's what she said.
No, like because there's a lot of actually hardwood trees that make very excellent for that sort of thing.
Yes. Yes, excellent to smack your face with.
And worst comes to worst, that's what the stone mace is for.
And so then the Huitzilopochtli,
Huichipotle.
uh,
Yep. Pot
can
pot
I just call him
Poktli.
Hootsie?
Let's just call him Hootsie.
So in 1321, a bunch of Aztecs found Mexico Valley, and well, they found Tenochtitlan, built that city there. Uh,
Which is actually the founding origins of Tenochtitlan, yeah.
Yep. That's why there's the eagle on the Mexican flag. So the conquest, of course, they talk about that. But of course, the reason why is that they must execute the jaguar shifters and the werewolves. That's the real threat.
Oh, also, they did not necessarily. While there was a royal family, in reality, the way they worked was more like a confederation of city-states, kind of similar
Yeah,
to the Spartan king system, but not quite.
yeah. It was weird. Then, oh god, page 16. This dude.
oh,
Fernandez Cortez,
the
Fernando Cortez.
Cortesibos.
Look at the I. The
He
more
has
you
the
read on Cortez,
Rasputinized.
yeah, the more you read on Cortez, the more it's like, no, he wasn't really that brilliant. He was just kind of going along with the flow so that his men didn't kill him.
Especially since he was actually supposed to be killed on sight by his men because he was technically an outlaw against the Spanish government at the time.
Yes, because just crazy bullshit. The entire fact of this is that most of the fighting was done by auxiliaries to the
Basically, the Aztecs pissed off so many of their neighbors that they willingly joined Cortez and his merry band of murderers to destroy them
Because it
wholesale.
because it turns out when you send back the skin of a diplomat, uh, or you were no, I think the story
No,
was
that's how
some
that's their
princess was
founding of
sent
their
there.
first big conquests. Um,
Yeah,
no,
they
the
were
Flower Wars
wearing the
where they would
skin of
just
a
go to war with
princess.
you.
The when you're that fucking bloody,
They would
you're
just
gonna
send
that
team up with
people
fucking
the
out to
strange
grab
hardcore.
guys.
people and just murder. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna
They were pretty
team up
fucking
with the strange
hardcore.
guys with the fire sticks.
And also these weird deer things that they put on posts and let them kind of hump with their giant dicks. Like, why the fuck did they do that? This
Yeah.
is something that Cortez really did. He like took a horse and he put like mare scent on it for a stallion, so the stallion would just go absolutely ape shit on this post in front of these Aztec emissaries. To
Well, they've never
I don't
seen a
even
horse before. That's why.
yeah, but even then, like if you if I
He's a
would seen that and I've
degenerate.
never
It's
seen
like
it,
that. There's a pope that did the same thing. Actually, he would show, he would do the same thing. I'm not kidding. We
yeah,
actually did have a pope at one point. I forget the name. I forget the name of it. He was well known to be very debauched. I think he might have been the same guy that was infamous for the Feast of the Chestnuts, where he had completely naked hookers serve
oh the
everyone food.
Borgias.
Yeah,
I forgot his papal name, but
I think it was one of the Borgia popes. It might have been a different one because there were several popes that had that same attitude.
yeah,
My favorite
it's still
one
not
was
as
the one who
crazy
claimed
as
that he fought demons and devils every night in his bedroom.
my personal favorite pope is the one that killed roughly 250,000 Christians. That would be Pope Innocent III.
Which is a beautiful shitpost of a name.
Innocent III is the pope that called not only the Fourth Crusade, but also the Fifth Crusade and the Albigensian Crusade. And if you know anything about the Albigensian Crusade or the Fourth Crusade, you know that these are some of the biggest own goals the church ever had.
Albigensian Crusade has one of the best quotes ever. Just kill them all and let God sort them out.
It's apocryphal. It was probably never actually said, but that was the attitude that they had after a point. So more Catholics died than Cathars during that crusade, mostly because there were so few Cathars, and they're all these weird fuckers that just they don't have sex, they don't drink, they're really weird, hippie people, and then they're just kind of like not even really fighting back when it's time to die. It's like Jesus Christ.
There's also the
Next,
Pope who dug up the remains of the previous guy just to try him and then behead him, and then another
Yes.
guy fished his corpse out of the river to do it again.
No, he didn't do it to do it again. They did that was actually to bury him because by that point he'd been canonized as a saint, or it was like there was rumors that his body was just doing miracles and shit.
Poor Formosus. You did not deserve that.
Formosus, yeah.
moving on back to
But
the
yeah,
Aztec.
Cortez is apparently a strategic genius. No, this is the expression of a guy going, "Wait, this shit fucking worked? How? How? How am I not dead?"
But
Uh,
by the way,
hold,
so
Silver Grizzly brings up a interesting point of adding like Dark Era's demon with this, and I do see that there's this paragraph on the deities of people the Aztecs conquered being adopted into their own beliefs, and some that were considered dark gods were ordered destroyed by Hutsi.
Oh,
So
that's just people who disagree. That's just people he hated.
yeah,
It was
still,
almost certainly vampire power games, or just killing off local guru like tribal chiefs to prove that they're the strongest.
yeah,
It's one or the two. It's probably not
yeah.
actual demons because people really try to sell demons as this big thing. No, in World of Darkness, it died a wet fart. It was like nothing really.
And yeah, original World of Darkness demons were kind of like, oh, they were there.
They usually would only have one or two as particularly odd encounters. A good example of that is actually in Chicago by Night, which, to give you an example of how messed up I've been, yeah, originally this would have been an accidental sequel to Welcome to Chirac. Sorry about the title error. But no, there is a demon
uh,
in that one. She's a succubus that runs a bar. But like they're
A
supposed to
club
be
actually,
one-off
but
oddball characters, similar to how Chronicles of Darkness usually has very odd entities that don't really fit into anything else.
so
yes. Also,
uh,
Cortez brought a
then
vampire with him.
Because of course you would. I mean, wouldn't you bring a vampire to consult you on things and provide the horrible and provide
A
horrible
hot, sexy
power?
female vampire by all appearances, because she was a Lasombra, I think.
That sounds about right. Actually,
So, also a tool of the technocracy, the canon.
yeah.
what would that? How many? What dots would that be? Forces and
Just forces, really?
hmm Also, you know,
well, you need to make the metal.
the sad thing is the Lasombra and it being Sabbat actually kind of makes sense because Lasombra gained a lot of their temporal power because they aligned with the church.
Yep.
So that's actually one of the things that I think makes a lot of sense, funnily enough. It's just very fucking unfortunate.
Yeah. Cortez brought, of course, with him Quetzalcoatl, that mage.
Yeah, he came back.
He came back to go and joined
To
the
stop the Satan
technocracy for a
vampire.
short time. Yeah. Look, this is really stupid. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, because this is one of my biggest problems with World of Darkness. They try to ascribe to why problems in the world happened because of the Secret Wars.
Yeah, the reason why the German Empire happens, yeah, it's a vampire.
Which no,
World War One,
it's
it's a
really
vampire.
it's not just one vampire. It is one vampire who is very angry that a French historian told him your art's kind of shit, bro.
Yes.
That's it. That's the
He
only
then
reason.
also caused Hitler because, yeah,
God, Berlin by Night. And this is similar. The only reason I'm kind of rolling with it is just because it is so stupid and insulting that I can't even be mad at it. I have been inoculated because of Berlin by Night. So yeah,
so
he
yes.
also angered Quetzalcoatl apparently.
Anyway,
Then the
skipping over this stuff that we covered in a completely different episode, there's more stuff about the history of
The Spanish rule.
Spain and Spanish rule, which
yeah,
is that the hacienda system of colonial Mexico, which is basically feudalism, but with natives as slaves and just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the hacienda system was pretty bad. It also extended, by the way, to the criollos, which are the Spaniards that were born there eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Spain had a very weird caste system. Caste, I say, but it's like racial codification
Oh
with
yeah,
those who
unironically,
were born in Spain at the top. Remember, was
Peninsulares,
it, yeah, was it Africans
Peninsulares, then
or
the criollos at the second highest. They could actually serve in administrative purposes if there were no peninsulares for the position, although they had to be getting rid of from that position if a peninsulare took it. Then there was, in terms of caste level, I believe mestizo was slightly higher than mulatto, which
It
is the
was.
fusion of indigenous and Spaniard ancestry. Mulatto was African and Spanish. There was
And I
like
think
they
there was
had
also
names for all of
African and
these.
Native as
I
well, was
yeah,
also a
forgot.
mix.
Samba, I
It
think
was
that
either
was
Yeah,
the term.
Samba or Pardo. I think Pardo, though, was specifically the Portuguese version, because the Portuguese, of course,
yeah.
also had the same system.
Yeah, and
And
it's
that's
important
why
to note that a
Portuguese.
lot of it's probably not popular in Mexico to say this, but yeah, there's a lot of African blood mixed in some areas. They don't like to admit it, but that's the truth.
Also, yeah, this is where this probable source of the one drop rule came from that
Kinda,
modern
yeah.
racists used.
Yeah.
Possibly, I mean, then again, the racism of Latin America and is just
Although it could also have
developed
been
differently
because of, what
from
was it,
U.S.
things like Plessy versus Ferguson, which had the greatest awful court ruling I've ever heard. That's the one that established segregation is legal.
Separate but equal.
Hmm.
Oh, not really equal, because
Oh, no, no, no. But yeah, the Spanish
we
rule was
just
pretty terrible.
bullshit. Yeah.
Oh, and also the
And then there was
Society
the
of Leopold has
revolution,
been a thing. Oh, no, there's been a Society of Leopold for a long time.
Yeah. So they're talking about the Society of Leopold going off after everyone, the Inquisition. Then eventually they talk briefly about the first Mexican Revolution. Um,
which that ended in 1821 with the Treaty of Cordoba, and
yes.
then the constant political fighting.
No, no, it gets even more awful. Like if you actually skim through, they accidentally
They
claimed that
skip.
the native peoples of Mexico they basically accidentally shit on folk Catholicism that's native to the region.
Yeah.
uh, for 300 years,
They
little
bring
seemed to
up
change. So the people of Mexico are weird quasi pagans according to World of Darkness, which is oops.
You
that's
now have
you're thinking of Santeria with that.
every angry uh every angry Mexican grandmother is now after us.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, not the Chancala.
Oh no, they're not angry at us.
That's
They're angry at White Wolf. Probably because this is. By the way, if you're wondering, this is actually why Paradox is very reluctant to bring on the old staff because of shit like this.
yeah.
A combination of shit like this, and because the last time they did, they accidentally did that stuff in Chechnya and in Brazil with BOPE. They're cops that legitimately will kill on sight if it makes things easier.
Yeah, they aren't, good people, but they're not exactly a hunter organization run by the government either. They're just Latin American crazy police.
And this is why Paradox is very reluctant to let any of them ever write again for 5th edition. This right here.
Well, then they
Yep.
reference Emilio Zapata,
Oh
They
boy.
just
right,
skipped 100
right.
years of history, by the
Yeah.
way.
Well, no, no, and then they go back to the Mexican-American War. I don't know why.
They
Did they
also
not
they also
mention
don't
the?
forget about how much blood was. If you're wondering why the red was in Mexico's flag, it represented the blood loss because they actually lost most of their founding leaders during the
Yeah, they
revolution.
lost most of their. Yeah, they lost most of the
Like
revolutionaries during the
out
I'm
of
gonna bring
revolution.
up
the first wave, none of them lived. Manuel Hidalgo died a year later. And,
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna
several of
bring
and
up.
most of his officers died before 1814.
it's one of those things where it's like,
They
yeah,
ran
the
through
Soviet.
2 generations of revolutionary leaders, and only fragments of the second wave and the beginnings of the third really got to take command.
Yeah, it's one
Hold
of
on.
those things where
I'm
it's like, how the
I'm gonna
fuck did this?
bring up the Mexican national anthem, which
Oh
it
no.
includes the line, um, "O fatherland," translate, but "O fatherland, if however your children defenseless, with their necks bent beneath the yoke, may your fields be watered with blood, may their footsteps be printed with blood, and your temples, palaces, and towers shall collapse with horrid clamor, and your ruins continue on, whispering of 1,000 heroes the fatherland once was."
Yeah,
Holy
Mexico
fuck.
paid its pound of flesh to pull that off. And
Jesus
that is
Christ.
an amazing anthem set of lyrics.
That is a set of
Oh yeah,
anthem lyrics with zero
it
chill.
the entire thing is basically, all right, guys, let's go out there and die for our country.
Which
And
they
not
did.
just like, hooray, we're gonna fight. It's no, we're all gonna die
Well, yeah, because that's what
in a
happened in their
in
war for
glorious final
independence.
stand.
And on top of that, keep in mind that they had to do it again when the French invaded.
Oh, that whole fiasco.
With
Yeah, the
Maximilian
French
and everything.
decided
Yes,
Yeah.
to make
Mexico is more
a
than willing.
king.
They even stood up and threw down with the U.S. when when we invaded them because one of their revolutionaries started border raiding us. That Mexico has no chill when it comes to them surviving as an entity. They will go down swinging and then still keep
Honestly,
trying to bite you even when unconscious.
Yes,
I have a
they
feeling that that might have been the reason why Germany during World War One asked them, "Hey, could you
you want to
invade the
fight
United
the
States?"
US and it's like Wilson just took over Veracruz with like 3,000 Marines. No.
Also,
Yeah,
we're still in
and
the middle
also
of a
chased
civil
one of our
war.
lead revolutionaries with his tail between his legs multiple times.
Yeah, like this isn't gonna we're just not gonna bother. Like we fuck off. This is a European thing. We don't want to get involved.
And we're also still trying to fix our own fucking problems because they were still
Also,
going
excuse me,
through.
there's still more revolts to shoot, so let's go. Yeah.
So then they bring up the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo,
Yep.
and that the Sabbat had already cemented their earlier stronghold. Um, contrary to what many suppose, many of Mexico's wars can only be blamed on the mortals. The Mexican War against France was driven by human greed, though the Sabbat used the opportunity to conquer more of the southern tip of North America.
Okay,
Um,
that at least they're not
it,
trying to blame everything on the supernaturals this time.
yeah. However, the elect Benito Juarez was, I guess, just sort of an accidental death, but his successor
Pentex,
was manipulated by Pentax, meaning,
which is beautiful.
congratulations,
Wow,
Porfirio Diaz
Diaz
is
was a
created by
Pentex
Pentax.
shill. What the fuck?
that's pretty goddamn offensive.
Oh yeah, that
Oh, by the way, something they don't comment about, Zapata actually was killed on the orders of the Mexican president at the time, Carranza. If you're
yep.
wondering, what happened was, to give you an idea, I really want to cover this a little bit since I don't know if they're going to. The Mexican Revolution was an absolute shit show that went through, I believe, 5 stages. The ousting of Diaz's successor, the power struggle because Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata both hated Venustencio Carranza because they both disagreed on the direction of Mexico should have been. Clashes between them and anarchists as well, because the anarchists of Mexico were also fighting for this time. The U.S. intervention, Carranza's assassination of Zapata, and his own assassination a couple of years later. I believe it was by Obregon, or it could have been by one of the other guys. And it eventually culminates that everyone just stops fighting, and then they just kind of actually finally stabilized with the Constitution of 1917. It ended in 1920, so even after that, it took a couple more years. By the way, the one of the it wasn't the first; it was the second president of Mexico got assassinated.
I think one of the presidents was only around for like 2 hours. Not that he was killed, he was just appointed president and I guess retired.
Yeah, Mexican history is an interesting shit show. But yeah, during his time as president, Diaz did rule as a dictator, although that actually mostly happened after his first term.
And he was, I would, yes, I would call him a technocrat in the actual
He
sense.
genuinely was. In fact, actually, he actually had what he called his scientific camarilla. Scientific camarilla,
Yep.
Yeah,
which was a
it's
small
it is
court
actually
of
called that.
technical experts that he used to essentially try to build Mexico up. Because at
And
the time, Mexico was a pure resource extraction economy and one of the richer in terms of output, but one of the least industrialized regions in the New World.
yeah,
And
so
he
that's
saw the potential that why send our resources up north to America or across the seas to Britain or France when we can just develop it here and send the finished product.
And thus begins the industrialization policies that would be part of much of Latin America, which is build our own shit.
Well, also it means that you don't
build
have to
our own
rely on
shit so that the
extraction.
U.S. also so that the U.S. fruit companies don't coup your government every 3 years.
Well,
That's
that
part of it.
happens in the
The other part
50s.
of it is also so you don't explode financially like Argentina always does.
Yep.
And
Argentina
then for
is
some
one of
of
the
them,
world's largest resource
yeah,
extraction economies still.
And you can see now why their economy constantly is exploding and inflating and hyperinflating and losing. To give you an idea, the Argentinian currency is both scarce, as in you actually struggle to find coins, and it's hyperinflating at the same time. It both has
It
too
is
few coins, but its value is dropping like a stone.
it's a miracle that they even are able to print money in Argentina because I just don't think that there's anyone there that understands what an economy is.
They don't. They
And
elected an actual libertarian minarchist in charge recently, and his first
it's
action was to completely destroy all regulation.
it's gonna go it's probably gonna go
Actual
only
libertarian.
slightly better. It's only gonna go slightly better than it was before. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, yeah, because you want to know why he won? Because the average Argentinian response is stop with Perón. We're fucking tired of him. Stop crying about Perón. Shut up.
I, for one, can't wait for the corporate death squads to start operating in Argentina. You talk shit about McDonald's, you're about to get the
No, no.
you're about to
How would
get
you
the
feel
treatment
if you
Perron's
found out?
enemies got in the 80s.
How would you feel if you found out there's a company in Argentina called Pentex and they just start operating openly?
I'd be going like, oh fuck.
well, actually, I'd saying, what the fuck aren't they operating in Brazil?
Anyway, so Mexico City, as they mentioned, was that they actually do this, and this is a good thing to mention, which is that Mexico was one of the manufacturing hubs for the fight against the Axis.
It
The
was.
U.S. invested heavily in Mexico to help produce not only wartime goods but also consumer goods to keep the economy running.
The fun fact, Mexico actually had the strongest automotive industry out of all of the Latin American countries. Mainly because
Yes, because
Ford built so many plants down there.
we built a lot of plants down there to help continue civilian car production, at least moderately, while we were focusing
Yep, Mexican Ford.
on.
Mexico also, I believe, manufactured components for Sherman tanks as well as the lighter Stewarts. They didn't
Yes,
build the
they.
whole things, but they would build things like the tracks, the wheels for their systems, drive shafts, occasionally armor pieces, but never whole tanks usually.
Yeah, they'd build parts for that. They'd do other contracting stuff. They did, I think,
They
a
were
lot of
contracted for
parachutes.
aircrafts. Yeah, they made a lot of parachutes, and they also were contracted for aircrafts, Mustangs in particular.
Yeah, they did a lot of aircraft parts.
And Mexico City
The
became this important because it's always been the population nexus of Mexico.
because there's
Sierra
really
the Sierra Madre is kind of inhospitable except for this large central valley and the coast until
yeah
you reach about Oaxaca or so.
yeah it's that the valley that Mexico City is in, the Nahuatl Valley is like actually it's one of the
It's
few
like the
good
San
places.
Jacinto Valley of California. It's very large,
Yeah, like
wide, fertile.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing else anywhere nearby that's any better, so might as well go here. It's concentrated, and everything else is you could live there, but you can't support a large population there.
Other places that had that is the central coastline across from it. Once you cross the Sierra Madre, reaching the Gulf. That's why Veracruz is so relatively expanded. Also, it's important as a
Yeah.
coastal port.
And then they, of course, have to talk about a few other more recent things, like the Great Earthquake of 1985.
Oh God, the earthquake of '85. President de
Just
la
so
Madrid first refused international aid because he wanted to make Mexico seem strong and they didn't need it. Then 2 days
Yeah.
later, when they couldn't do anything, and legitimately what was it? They have their own college and university students had to collectively gather together themselves because student activism is actually very strong in Mexico. UNAM in particular is well known for it. They had to organize
well,
relief effort themselves because because the police weren't doing shit. Firefighters weren't doing shit. There was actually a case where a textile factory they tried to stop aid because they didn't want because the company paid the police to avoid revealing how many safety violations led to its building's collapse. They were going to leave, I believe, a few hundred people in there to die. Like that's the level of garbage that that Mexico
yeah.
was in the 80s. And now you can kind of understand why they made them the center point of Pentex and the technocracy with that disregard for human life.
Yeah.
About 9,000 people were crushed to death, 100,000 injured.
Hmm.
Uh, However, as the people of Mexico City banded together as never before, to save thousands.
Yes,
And, but
The
the
last 8
this was
years,
Supernaturals are
also
all
this was also one of the reasons why they were starting to begin to protest the government because this was a massive
yeah,
failure on their part.
yeah.
well, I can
And
say that
then
at least the government didn't fucking fleece all the aid like Somoza did in Nicaragua.
Uh, you
I
were
said all
lucky.
the aid.
Yeah.
but yes, the God. So they then talk, of course, about the fact that Mexico it wasn't just a natural earthquake, though all the supernaturals blame the others for causing it.
Because everything is caused by supernaturals, ranging from the atomic bomb to Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. In this case, this wasn't, but that means that everybody else believes it was.
And this is also correct. Mexico City at the time was rapidly growing in size because that's where all the jobs were. Uh,
Yes, it was.
and yeah, it's as large as New York City. People forget just how large the metropolitan area of Mexico City it is. It
Huge.
is as large, if not slightly larger, than New York City. And yeah, they were predicting at this point it's possible it was going to actually be twice the size of New York. At one point, it was predicted to reach over 30 million.
Predictions were that by 2000 it would hold 30 million people. Let's check what it is now.
It's pretty big.
I think it's around. I want to say it's around 18 million.
Still pretty big, though.
Let's
Also, they
see.
are correct that there is a shitload of factories. City always had a smog problem just because the valley traps whatever air is in there somewhat. Weather systems do a pretty
Roughly,
good job at filtering it, but still.
roughly about 9 million in the city proper. So probably
Metro area
around.
was 21 million, so
Okay, yeah, I was about to say.
I have
It
an
So
idea if
usually
they're
everything
stagnated
adding
just
is
that.
because of
double that.
carrying capacity. Also what happened in the 90s is Mexico experienced a massive financial collapse.
Crunch. Yeah,
It was called the peso crisis because confidence in Mexican financial stability was very much in
yeah,
doubt. Because basically
And
during the
NAFTA
70s
happened.
and 80s, what would happen is Mexican presidents would spend the last 2 years just essentially either embezzling money or filtering it away for their projects of ego. And then the first
yeah.
3 years of the next Mexican president is to either kick the can down the road or try to partially fix the problem. It came to a head in the 1990s when they defaulted on IMF loans.
So the
And the
most interesting.
Zapatista revolt also crushed investor confidence, so a lot of markets fled.
So the thing to note here is that they're talking about with all the
Oh, I
other
just
stuff
realized
is
this
that
is written before NAFTA, so this is before a lot of
this
the.
is during while NAFTA is being negotiated.
Ooh, this could go interesting.
Like NAFTA is basically just passed. They'll talk about that in a second. But they talk about the efforts of the technocracy to try to control the city. But the thing is, there's still a lot of tradition mages and a lot of Nefandi here, because of course there are. Why would we not just like pile on this suckitude onto Mexico City?
Mainly because remember, Mexico. This is the Mexico City of the 1990s. This is a few years after the earthquake. This is after. This is after what could have been revolution, because Mexico. They actually had to rig the vote to force the PRI candidate to win, because the son of Lazaro Cardenas should have won. He ran as an opposition
Yeah.
candidate. It was known as, in Mexico, this is the day known as the day the system crashed, because they accidentally showed the poll results. He was in the lead, and they had to quickly kill it and then invent more votes to make sure that the guy won. It's called that because at the time Mexico was known as the perfect dictatorship, because it was a single party state essentially. So while Pentex doesn't own Mexico City, it's simply not worth owning. The trash and human debris that litter the streets are worse hideaway massive garbage dump. Hardly a value of the vote.
Yeah. I was about to say that's
Oh, I
pretty.
do like this Pentax. So they make up a surprising portion of the wealthy in Mexico City. Um, Even by the living standards of the United States, employees of Pentax are well paid. The vast majority of employees are paid only 65 cents an hour and are forced to work 12-hour days. There
This
are
is
no benefit
actually this
plans.
is actually a reference to the maquiladores that were a big problem and still are in Mexico. Basically,
Yes.
they are factories that are lent out to American companies for essentially no pricing, very low pricing. Basically, is like a kickback incentive back in the day, and those conditions are repulsive. We're talking no sanitation in factory towns they set up. We're talking no road system or infrastructure. And if you got sick or died, well, tough shit for your family. Um,
And
the
they
last
still
time
exist
conditions
in
were
some
that bad
places.
were in some communities in the 1800s in factory towns. Not quite coal mine bad, but up there. There's a reason unionism is extremely strong in Mexico. Also intensely
Uh,
corrupt. Hilariously, Pemex is one of the most corrupt of all, to the point where they would intentionally cut building standards.
So the if we're moving through this, the thing that they'll note is that law enforcement agencies, very corrupt in Mexico at this time, still sort of are, but that's being fought more now than it was back in the day. This is
Yeah.
before the cartels really take over the criminal scene in Mexico. Um,
Also, if you're wondering, Mexico City is where a lot of Formori are found and recruited.
yes. Also, there's some fun art on the next page.
Also, yes, the Catholic Church remains a powerful force in Mexico City, because faith and anti-clericalism are very strong markers in Mexican history, to the point where they legitimately fought a war over religion in the 1920s and 30s.
Over should we have the Catholic Church be part of the government? This was an
well,
actual question.
that and also the issue of church lands.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
because the
yes.
Mexican government took most of them.
They took most of them because most of them were basically like the actual profitable lands in the country were all owned by the church.
Hmm They also made it so that you could not become a priest except through government mandate. You could not
Oh.
politically talk against the government at all, or else you
Yeah.
could be defrocked. They actually had kill squads that would secretly murder those who talked against the government. This is an actual thing. They would also legit, like this is like full on dirty insurgency fighting, like counterinsurgency methods, but like with a lot of assassination.
So we're
It
talking
got so bad the
1800s?
KKK stepped in.
Yes, the KKK picked the side of the fucking Catholic Church in Mexico. Let me.
Because reminder, this is the
What?
version of the KKK that despised Catholics.
What?
It's complicated.
Yeah. It took the Pope personally intervening to actually make them stop.
Yeah.
Also, so progenitors are here. They're studying the results of all the shit that's going down in Mexico City. Some of them are trying to find a
Yeah.
cure for pollution, but they have done nothing to, and I quote, stop the accelerated genetic degeneration of the people of Mexico.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't even know what that one.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to know, but that's very unfortunate. Probably not a wise paragraph to throw in here.
And on the next page, we have some guy getting stabbed after presumably writing the word guerra.
Oh no, that's actually what was written in his blood. Yeah,
So
this is
someone
actually
need to
not
kill
too.
somebody to write the word war.
Well, the funniest thing about this is actually pretty tame by what can happen.
But what the cartels do, yeah.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
the Nosferatu anti-tribute, by the way, of Mexico City have apparently gone all crazy. They've created a monster that needs them less than need it. It's called the Pandemonium or the Underbelly. The entire area underneath Mexico City has become one giant, enormous community.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh
Soon after
no.
Cortez came to Tenochtitlan, Huitzilopochtli expanded his consciousness, calling to his masters and asking for their aid. The aid came in the form of a small black growth that erupted from his chest and began to feed on the same pain and frustration that nourished the god of war. He had no complaints about sharing the energies. There was still so much suffering to go around. In the ruins of what was once the capital of the Aztec nation, a Nefandi labyrinth, a black
Oh
spiral
no.
dancer hive, a Nosferatu warren, and a vile haunt have all merged, forming from the black seed that Huitzilopochtli planted. Contrary to
Oh
the technocracy's
no.
belief, the underbelly is filled with several powerful nodes hidden by the powers of the Nosferatu and Nefandi. The underbelly reaches into portals deep in the Umbra, where the creatures beyond simple description wait with hungry
No, no,
souls.
no, 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 no.
Oh no.
This
Oh god.
okay, to give you an idea, this is the sort of thing that if a storyteller hints at to you, you're dead. You're probably dead if you go anywhere near this.
Leave the fucking city. Just go.
Yeah, you need to leave. There's nothing you can do to fix this. Like, the only thing that might work is a tactical nuke, and even then, that's not going to do anything.
Well, actually, no. Christianity has helped stop it.
Yes, it has.
It's only stopped it from expanding.
Onto the surface, yes. But it's still stopping it. All the grandmothers with their pictures of Jesus. You know the one picture of Jesus that every grandmother seems to have.
The
You
the
know it.
the $1 one you can usually find in a Goodwill, yeah.
Yeah, you know that
Oh
picture. I don't
no.
even need to describe it to you. You know it. Well, unless you're
Oh,
Jewish, but
oh no. The North American Free Trade
We'll get
Agreement.
into
oh
that,
boy,
but yeah,
here we go.
this is not good at all. To give you an idea, this would be the equivalent of an apocalypse scenario in an average campaign or chronicle. This is unironically, this is Mexico City's death clock.
Because let's understand that you have
Faith
the
is the only thing
Nefandi,
keeping it back, and on top of that,
you have
the Fondi, and also reminder, the nexus of this is a Bali vampire.
Yep. Basically a fourth generation, I think.
He legitimately is one of the first to walk the earth that has treaded the path of the infernal. This is a man who may not have seen the first city fall, but his sire definitely did.
it's a fucking if you think about this, it's a fucking warp portal that cannot be stopped.
Yeah.
The- The Inquisition would exterminate us the planet for that.
Yeah.
It would.
So
Also, from Evangelicals Never Lie, once you learn critical thinking, you'll all lose all fear of presuppositional so-called God. No, this is a hell portal, legitimately.
this is a legitimate hell portal. This is
This is
not
a hell
like, oh,
portal.
we're joking. No, this is the rough equivalent of a portal to hell. I don't think you quite understand that. Like
It's not
this
just your
is
normal hell. This is Event Horizon kind of hell, because once you're deep in the Umbra, you're basically in the Event Horizon where we're going. We need no eyes to see. In fact, that's an actual ritual for the
oh
Nefandi. They tear their eyes out as they descend.
oh and
That's
yes,
an actual
then on
ritual.
top of that, they bring in the Nefandi stuff, which is just like,
Oh,
oh
and keep in mind, they're organized. These Nefandi are organized enough to have an entire node under their control, which is basically death.
The
You don't
Nefandi,
want them to have that. Ever.
they basically, yes, the world is false. I want it to fall. I don't want to ascend. I want to have everything fall and not die, because that would just be too simple. I want just endless falling,
It's not just endless
endless
falling.
despair.
It's the return to the soup of life, protoplasm.
yeah, like
That is the
No,
goal of
not
this is
even
descent.
not
life.
yeah. Like they want to
Life was
literally
a
end all
mistake.
conscious life on the planet. They want to return to slime mold.
Not even slime mold.
Would they even want to return the slime mold?
No.
They want to return before the Big Bang, essentially,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and what to greet whatever is there and welcome it with open arms.
Yeah. This is genuinely the end of an end of the city scenario. This is something that, honestly, unironically, if you were in the city and the underbelly started peeking its head out and all of this shit began, you would think it's the end of the world. And it is the end of
Yeah.
Mexico City.
But yes, the
Oh, this isn't a bad day when evil acts smart. This is the combination of centuries of bad decision making.
yeah, they're gonna talk about NAFTA in a second.
Yep,
Uh,
NAFTA. Here we go. So we
Here
go
we
from
go.
one grand evil to another one.
In the gothic punk world, NAFTA works only on paper.
I mean, it also only worked kind of on paper. I mean, it benefited America, but it
Oh
also
yeah, definitely, but
murdered Canada and
it
Mexico's economy.
as planned. So the but yes, the basics though of this is that NAFTA ended up causing actual uprisings in Mexico. There were they're fighting for 6 days over in Chiapas.
Hmm.
There was a lot of extrajudicial executions done by the government.
you have the Zapatista movement, which still exists.
Yep, the
Yeah.
EZLN, the Army of the Zapatista Liberation Movement, I think it's called. Which, by the way, it it was actually formed from a more radical organization earlier that wanted to be more active. Not active, but passive resistance. The whole thing with the Zapatistas was passive resistance and armed neutrality. They'll only fire back if you fire at them. That's kind of their mindset. What happened with NAFTA though is it absolutely killed local farms because giving Chiapas is the poorest region in Mexico by an order of magnitude. The only reason some of those farmers survived, I mentioned this before, I think, is because of government grants, essentially, subsidization. Uh, but that ruined any protections they had left, and actually, it also ruined the coffee industry, which was its big moneymaker, because it went from directly to their pocket to a middleman, which meant that they made less. This made it so that this group actually gained a lot of popularity, which was also combined because because this kind of Spanish-speaking government had a habit of stamping down on native languages. It culminated in mass riots. It culminated in the murders of a variety of very corrupt politicians in the area, local strongmen. Because yes, they did have caciques and caudillos. Several of them were disappeared. The government responded by disappearing several activists. And this is also what led to the peso crisis because, well, uh, basically Mexico looked a little too unstable to invest in or to look at their loans to readjust them, which led to them defaulting. And also, no, here's the thing: Mexico does have a fair amount of potential to take out the manufacturing that China's losing. They do. They genuinely do, and they are taking it up because Mexico is not completely brain dead.
Yeah.
In
I
fact,
mean,
I believe they're focusing on, I believe, car parts and actually new energy systems like new electric car
They've
batteries and
been
stuff.
they've been doing car
well,
parts for like the last
yeah.
since NAFTA. Really, NAFTA is actually one of the things that saved the Mexican car industry.
It did. The
Because
Mexican car industry was dying. It brought new life. It's to the point where Mexico actually now is producing their own model car licenses under their own brands.
Actually,
They've
I
only
remember
they've only
reading with
started it
the
in the 2000s, but yeah, you can actually buy a legitimate car made from Mexico from Mexican brands. It's kind of neat.
with the NAFTA, I would say 2.0, the USMCA, it actually strengthened that car part requirement. So,
yeah,
Another thing that
some
they've
improvements.
also gotten into is new power systems. They've also been developing the South a lot more recently. They've actually finished up, I believe, recently a Mayan rail project, which actually has allowed you to connect easier to the Yucatan, which has always been a bit more isolated. But yeah, there was big protests at the time. It's not surprising. Paraíso Vista. It's a beautiful town, tranquil and without much way in the way of crime. No place is perfect. There are still a few small squabbles, from time to time a drunken brawl, but no serious crime. There's never been a murder in Paraíso Vista. There's never been a reason for killing. No one is without the necessities of life, and so most have all they need, more than they need. Paraíso Vista is content. The people went from nothing and keep to themselves. It is a very well kept secret, less than 100 miles from the violence and poverty of Mexico City. It's only 432 people. There are no televisions. There's only one phone, and that seldom works. The wells from which the people drink are pure and untouched by the industrial filth that drenches most of the country. They've never found a stronghold for it to latches onto. There are no mages, guru, or kindred in Paraíso Vista. There are a few ghosts here, but only a few. Largest threat that's ever come was a few tremors from an earthquake. Very, I don't know why this section's here.
Yeah,
wait,
what I
wait
don't.
for the next page.
Leave on their own, never to return, but there are always new people coming in, never too many. Just enough for a town the size of the people, and the town survive. Oh, is this a guru experiment?
Wait for it.
Most of the families live in the same home, the simple ways of life. To the north of the village, a pure cold stream runs from the mountains, filling a small lake and well. It's dry season, the tiny lake, as deserves to be told, dries up. Wells remain full of sweet water. The crops grow well. The lands to the east and south of the town are covered in crops and pastures. No one's silly enough to go too close to the edge. It could be dangerous. Most of the people are literate, but just about the only book I ever read is the Bible. Paraiso Vista's more eccentric citizens, the one who fancy themselves writer or poets. Jesus. Okay, I'm just kind of skimming through because this is getting long. This is a standard small town, which
Wait,
means there's something wrong with it.
and that is just
Here's why
how.
Huitzilopochtli has always kept it. I know of these things. I know all there is to know about Mexico City and Paraiso Vista. They've been shaped by my will, and by my will alone. They both survive. I was there when Huitzilopochtli walked from the stormy waters and onto the land. I watched as he conquered and ruled the Aztec nation. I know so much that is hidden from the rest of the world of darkness. For I am Huitzilopochtli, and I awake at last. My time has come again.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
I was about to say. Then they go in more to like Mexico City itself,
So they murder. So
which
blood sacrifice to keep it clean.
yeah,
That does mean they're ripping off Children of the Corn, actually.
yeah, running through these caverns of gold is a river of death indeed. An old hotel serves as a shelter for children off the street. Whatever. The point of this is that Mexico City is a very unique city because it's a very high elevation. It's like one of the highest like
Hmm
It's one of the highest elevation cities with its population on the planet.
The only areas that are remotely similar is in Bolivia and around the Lake Titicaca region, which is actually the site of a large kingdom of the Aymara,
Yeah.
and also is one of the breadbaskets, if I recall, of the Incan Empire. Tawantinsuyu. Also the home of a lot of flamingos, if I recall. Although, nah, I don't remember the wildlife of that region. I think flamingos live there too. Oh no,
Oh,
I'm obsessed about finding that out. We'll figure it out later.
onto the city itself. In the north, you have Santa Maria Ticoman and uh, Estacala. Uh, it's based off of the Santa Maria Ticoman, which is the basis for the Shrine of the Virgin of Guadalupe. Uh, and apparently that god was once tolerated by Hutsi, but after the conquistadors came, her influence grew almost intolerable. To the surviving Aztecs, she was and still is the goddess of old. I don't know how many
There are almost no,
actual,
there's
Mex-
none. There's none
well,
really.
not the Aztec, but the Mexica people. I don't think any of them actually worship.
They don't. They don't. The Virgin of Guadalupe, what they're doing is they're taking folk Catholicism and just throwing neo-pagan garbage at it.
Yeah, because Our Lady of
And
Guadalupe is literally like an incarnation of the Virgin Mary. That's the
It's an
point of it.
incarnation of the Virgin
It's the
Mary,
Virgin.
and
It's a, well apparition of the Virgin Mary, but
and
uh,
she's also the leader of the Iteration X.
that doesn't make any fucking sense though, because the point of like the apparitions of the Virgin Mary are that they are temporary things. They are literally her presence blessing the
Well,
people.
whatever technocrat this is using her as a disguise.
oh yeah, fun
Okay.
fact. Did you know there was a really funny election that happened once in Texas where I believe it was in like the 1980s, where they tried to be cheeky and moved it to and moved the polling times to December 16th, which they thought would actually prevent the Latinos from voting, so the Republican guy could get in. They forgot that was the day of Our Lady Guadalupe, and most churches had polls. The Democrat won by a fucking landslide that year.
Because it's literally like everybody's already at the church for the services, so it's like just vote after.
It was one of the funnier moments I could think of.
That is that is pretty funny.
But yeah,
Um,
Virgin of Guadalupe is a very important patron saint. It sometimes is seen as a weird form. It's often venerated in folk Catholicism from Mexico quite heavily. Um,
and
it
it
might
is
actually
not
have
under
been
the influence
based
of the
partially
worm.
on Tonantzin. It might have been a kind of blending of that a little bit. But trying to shove your weird understanding of neo-paganry into Mexico, no, not really. And trying
This
to
has
also
Phil
make them the front
Picado
for the
written
technocracy,
all over it.
also pretty disgusting.
This has to be Picado's influence.
Almost certainly.
Um, but the good news, the underbelly of the worm does not lie under this part of the city.
Which
However,
does
the
help.
technocracy is trying to influence by having the National Polytechnics Institute.
Oh, also the Celestial
Uh,
Chorus wants it to be so. So, yeah. This region is
in the
super important in the battle of religion, I guess. Mainly on the nature of I guess the Virgin Mary, which is a bit of a what the fuck, Phil. I'm
um,
assuming it's Phil.
in the northeast, we have Gustavo Madero, which this is influenced by the worm. And the lake produces waters that are surprisingly clear and sweet and rem- rumored to remove the worm's influence, provided the proper rituals are performed.
I like how no effort was put to describe the actual area any better than that.
Then
Also,
there's
yes,
the,
Then
the
you have
airport.
Benito
the National
Juarez,
Polytechnics Institute is one of Mexico's two big universities. Um, it is also one of the two that tended to have the highest student activist ratings.
which, yeah, no, that wouldn't fit into Ration X, I think.
It would. unironically, them having this part of the city under lockdown makes some sense. I just think it's a little ridiculous what they did elsewhere.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean,
uh,
next up, it's
I
it's pretty basic.
well, no, I find this funny with the airport. Every secret society has their own guards and their own ways of getting into the airport.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Pentax, the Sabat, and Iteration X.
Well, you'd kind
Um,
of want that.
yeah. Lake Texcoco, of course, is where the pandemonium is beneath it and adds to the lake's pollution.
um,
Which
and
And
makes
then
sense because
gurus stay away from it.
Texcoco is in bad shape.
in the northwest we have uh, Palnapantla, uh, which is
Tlate
the prime
Pantla, yeah.
interest of the Toreador anti-tribu. Um, it's part of the federal state of Mexico that has been consumed by Mexico City.
Yep.
It's not suffered from overpopulation. It's the rich part of the city.
Yeah, it's the hoity-toity place. Anyway,
It is.
Italacaco is the next place in the southeast. Uh,
It's Telcoco.
uh,
Telcaco, yeah. Caloco.
yeah, it is full of people
Oh
without
yeah, I know what this
homes or
one is
whatever else.
because okay, this is actually where a massive series of slums were. It's the poorest region in the city. This is also a fun fact where one of the there was a real life Mexican superhero there named Super Barrio Gomez, whose whole thing was to try to improve the housing situation there and in other regions of Mexico City. Basically because they were living in favelas. I'm not kidding. The area is in such horrible shape that unironically, a real life Mexican superhero's whole gimmick was to try to get the complain to the government to get them to build better houses there.
Yeah.
That there,
They basically mentioned that there's a lot of Semeti and Thanatos that visit this area because if somebody goes missing, who cares?
Not too
uh,
unsurprising, yeah.
But that sort of
it's
misses the
in
point of the Thanatos. Then again, this is their really early iteration. Um, so yeah, it's La Papa. Suffers from pollution and corruption. Overpopulated, generally ignored. The Reclusorio Oriente Penitentiary is the one true claim to fame, as it holds several times the number of prisoners it was designed to contain.
It did because
Uh,
it was also a pretty common place to store political prisoners, if I recall correctly.
yes, they mentioned that as well. If for the right price, anyone will be incarcerated or locked away in the prison. Bonars often speak of Garou have been captured and vivisectioned there.
I could
One
believe
tale
it.
is a known truth. The rest, but not all of the other ones are. The west, though, is the Zona Rosa is the actual like super rich area of there.
This is also, by the way, the
It's the
place
tourist
that.
trap area.
Yep. This is the area that's kept nice on purpose.
Yeah, because this is where foreign tourists come in and spend all of their money.
it's a nice map that they have on the next page.
Hey,
Basic,
it's
but
Tlatelolco.
They talk about this. There was
the
a
government.
yeah, the government killed a few hundred people before the Olympics in '68.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, that
the
one.
Days of Blood.
Yeah,
If you're
Yeah,
wondering, 1968 was
yeah.
not just an unstable year for the U.S. It was also in Mexico and and quite a few other regions. Mexico, the protesters were just shot at. Like there was no
yeah.
like the Kent State brutality. Okay, that, but then have the police actually be rewarded for shooting a few hundred protesters and killing them.
I mean, honestly, have we had in the U.S. a sim? Actually, no. Probably maybe the what was it? The shooting of those veterans because they wanted their pensions. I think that's the
Yeah,
closest we have in the U.S. And even then, it's just uh that was before television was around.
yeah. So they
This
then
was
talk
then.
about yeah. They then give us a nice little map of Mexico City that is just very generalized, so you can come with whatever street you want,
Oh, by the way, another fun
aside from the
fact
main ones.
is they mentioned the university they're speaking of specifically is the Autonomous University of Mexico, which also, during 68, legitimately barricaded itself off from government forces. The students legitimately did this twice. Once in 68 and another time in, I believe, 1988.
Kind of based, not gonna lie.
Now for something you wouldn't expect, Inquisition in Mexico.
And this is a
Yeah,
nice
they were
little
there.
map. It gives you his stuff. I will say this is nowhere near as good as the Berlin by night section. It's very sparse by comparison.
Yeah, the Berlin by night section is a. Do you want to go to Berlin? Here is a tour guide.
This is a lot more limp in regard to that.
Yeah, they talk about it, some of these monuments, like the monument of the young heroes. They've got like the parks, the Castillo, which is like a zoo and garden, the University of Mexico, and the center area of the Mexico City, which is like where the Great Temple is. And
Oh yeah, Zocalo. The Zocalo, if you're wondering, is specifically the large public square. You can actually make a lot of speeches there. Politicians often would do that. The Mexican president actually has a tradition traditionally called La Grita, which is a big thing where they talk about their policies at the end of the year, what they're going to do. It is also the place where, unironically, if you want to scream at the government, this is where you do it. It's a very large public forum. And it can actually, I believe, house up to 200,000 people. It's pretty darn big. The National Palace, which is also known as Los Pinos, this is actually not the current location of the president. I believe the current guy, Obrador, actually has gotten rid of it, or it was like his, not Nieta, but maybe Fox got rid of it. There
somebody moved out of it. In any
relatively
case,
recently. Do they actually mention the? Oh yeah, I think this is before the San Lazaro building was finished, which, by the way, was a big shit show in and of itself. San Lazaro is the site of the Mexican Congress. Uh, it is the prod. It took, I believe, over a decade, or 15 years to build, and it's solely because of a combination of grift. Because the company that they originally contracted, I believe, was in the pocket of the brother of the president at the time. Not kidding. Uh, Investment fraud. I believe the building partially collapsed the day it opened, so they had to rebuild it. But San Lazaro was a shit show. This is before then. They had a previous palace that they were using. And National University, that is specifically, yeah, the Autonomous University of Mexico. This one is where a lot of political activism goes. If you're going to do Chronicles of Darkness, this would be where your Carthian movement has its strength. Carthians would use this as their main recruiting grounds, and would be their main territory. This would also be
Then,
where you'd find a shitload of Bruja and Tribute in the World of Darkness.
then you have outside the city, you have Xochimilco, uh, which is where the floating gardens are, untouched by the worm, and it's also where the Balem or the were-jaguars live.
Yep,
yeah,
were-jaguars. They are
and
a
they are
thing.
keeping the local werewolves from making a cairn there.
And
So
they also meet up near one of the uh, was it one of the volcanoes?
There's several. The
It's
Sierra Madre does have a few.
Popocatépetl. Uh, Moving on then to the underbelly.
yeah, they.
On the other hand, if it
There's
went
more
into more
fucking Nine Inch
details,
Nails.
it would have raised the odds of White Wolf going full White Wolf. You're not wrong, Jim.
You're not wrong, but trust me, they will in a little bit here. Uh, oh boy.
Oh wow, they used the second Nine Inch Nails thing. Sorry I interrupted you. I didn't see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. The ground beneath the group's feet was sticky in some places. Others, it was slick enough to make them slide into each other. Nothing could have prepared them for the smell. The air was thick with the stench of death. Each searcher imagined what lay ahead in the darkness. Grim thought of his parents' bodies putrefying in the living room, waiting with bloated smiles and jellied eyes, just as he'd found them when he returned from his summer camp so long ago.
Ew.
He tried to stop the images, but they forced him to cross his mind's eye, showing the dried black blood on his father's hands and the maggots that crawl from his mother's left ear. Beside him, one of the Garus snarled deep in her throat, a faint, nervous rumble that sounded too much like Grimm's own false bravado. The round of the last bend in the darkness opened up, revealing to them all the secrets of hell and a few more sights they never expected.
I
It is
have
perhaps the most
such sights
corrupted.
to show you.
Yeah. We all float down here, Timmy.
We all float down here, Grim. They all
What?
float!
Yeah, so they.
Well, you're
So,
going.
Karen.
You won't need eyes to see.
Need place to
Yes,
see.
it is a level 5 Karen with a gauntlet level of 2. It is
Not good.
The most corrupted
It is
place
an
possibly on the
organism.
planet. It is summoned a horde of the foulest of awakened imaginable. The results of the collection: Black Spiral Dancer Hive, Nefandi Labyrinth, and Anti-Tribute War, and type organism slash angst.
Mhm.
Well, that's great. Totem, the Hydra.
Yep. Let's see. The center is the true pyramid of Futsi. The hive is actually 5,000 feet below the deepest sections of the false Tenochtitlan. Then a Fondi Call resides within the Pandemonium. This living entity filters a mage's avatar through corruption, flipping it until
Flipping
it
the avatar
turns
until
evil.
all goodness has been converted to a like amount of evil. The Black
It
Spirals
has a
also do their rituals here. So this basically has a make you evil button within it.
Well, yeah,
As if
because
this
that
place wasn't
is.
bad enough already.
Well, yeah, but if you're wondering, the Nefandi, the way they work is there's two ways a Nefandi can be born. You see, mages, when they die, they don't necessarily perma-die. They can reincarnate. That sometimes happens. When a Nefandi does it, they're born a psychopath. They're born a low-functioning sociopath slash psychopath. And when they awaken, they come back, sort of. Sort of. The other is
Yeah.
if you are sleepwalking and potentially become awakening, or you are an awakened one. You go through a ritual known as the Call, which is not pleasant. It's essentially going on the Event Horizon's ride through hell, which basically, since this area is a little fragment of it directly right into the Umbra, no wonder your avatar inverses.
Like,
Uh,
good God.
Yeah, if you're a mage,
it
you're
also has
fucked. If you're a guru, you're
it
fucked
also
too.
has as it has a direct route to Malthius, the realm of the worm.
Yep, and if you're wondering,
Uh,
that is partially why the Black Spiral Dancers became what they were. They decided to go down there, so if you're a guru, there's also a chance you could fall yourself.
Oh
This is
yeah, also
legitimately corruption incarnate. It is actually partially alive.
yeah, this is some next level of just why the fuck would you ever go here?
The only reason you
well,
ever would is to try to maybe limit the damage it's doing to the city. And that's a death
here's
mission.
something.
That's a death
Here's
run.
something fucked up. The Nosferatu try to dance the spiral or become rejuvenated in the call. It doesn't affect them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the
the
call
Nosferatu anti-tribute
they're
have gone mad. They actually are.
yeah, they literally none of this shit is damaging them whatsoever. That's not a good sign. That's the exact opposite of a good sign.
Like, the thing is, Nosferatu anti-tribute tend to be the most sane of the anti-tribute, usually, since their whole thing is family over faction, essentially. So they're a little
Yeah,
more with
Nosferatu
it.
are always like that.
They're a
They're
little more
generally
with
much
it
more
because of that.
clannish.
Not the ones in
Anti-tribute.
Mexico.
Runs in Mexico have gone fucking nuts. Yeah,
They can walk through the
that's
call.
never
They
a
can
good
go to
sign.
the deepest pit of hell. They are not affected. They are unfazed.
And this is how it looks in the Umbra. Seized with banes of all types, thriving on toxic waste and misery, the area is pitch black, illuminated by sickly green lichen that rises to heights of 300 feet, and deep pools of worm seed boil in what was once part of Lake Texcoco.
Yeah.
Malignant things move in these waters, some flopping about, and others moving with unsettling grace. No one who is not of the worm has seen them clearly and lived. Among the obscenities are the guardians of the Nefandi, creatures only partially created by them.
Yeah, basically
Aquatic,
they took creatures that they dragged into there, let the worm reshape them, and then just finished the job.
what's
This is
this?
hell.
The aquatic form of thunderworms,
Not
Waksha,
good.
and the Hrug are among them as well. The
These are some
extremely
of the worst
toxic
things that you
environment.
can fight, by the way.
Yeah, the extremely toxic environment, 0 effect on the Nefandi, by the way. As basically
Uh,
as expected, but
Because this is when they were unifying their hypothesis where you have wildlife, wildlife dynamic energy creation, stasis, and destruction. This is the nexus point of entropy, destruction, devolution. This
bloated
is
things
literally
that
the
slither,
worst place you could be.
the bloated things that slither through the brackish water are often visited by the Nosferatu. The anti-tribute have taken to gorging themselves on the blood of the homeless, then spilling generous amounts of their own vitae into the murky luminescence of the
yeah.
waters.
So you want
Oh,
some ghouled up fucking monstrosities?
hey,
Here we
you
go.
know those Bane creatures like Bane shark? Well, it wouldn't be Bane sharks, but like Bane whatever you throw in there. Hey, give them ghoul blood so that they can
Yeah,
become
they're now
No, no,
invisible
ghouls.
no, no,
now.
no. No, it's not cool, but it is Nosferatu just voluntarily giving up their blood to these things.
Oh, by the way, that means that they now have the
That's still
potential to go
bad.
invisible when they're
That's
not moving.
still really bad.
Don't
This
forget
is
they
old
now have
world.
the
We're just
ability to
feeding
they now have the ability to just gain a bit of potence to be
a
even
dot of
stronger,
potency,
or
animalism, or obfuscate.
which means
Why
they
the
can either
fuck not?
hide invisibly or talk to each other and interact in far more intelligent packs than they otherwise would. Because
Wow, this is
a Nosferatu ghoul animal is among the most intelligent and most dangerous creatures you can run into because they have transcended the animal mind somewhat to a new alien one because of the animalism. It gives them an insight and ability that otherwise wouldn't be. And now you're giving it to eldritch abominations that
yeah,
are of the
like
flesh,
there's
but
a
not entirely.
yeah, like I know that there's like sort of like okay, like how bad could it be down here? Was what some people might have been thinking when they were first reading this book, and then you hit this and you're like, oh, right, it's that bad. This
Vampiric
is
Formorians? Oh no, they exist. Remember, this is the recruiting
yeah, they
ground of them.
exist. Yeah, they exist.
And this is
We're
where you can
talking.
recruit them.
It's not just that here though. We're talking like, hey, do you want a Nefandi that is also it's like a nasty umbral creature that you would fight in Werewolf, could rip a pack apart, and that's now his best friend, and it will corrupt the entire world. Yeah,
And
it's here.
he also has another group of 9 friends because they
He
formed an
also has a
entire
bunch of
coven.
nice doggies fed on ghoul blood from the
And don't
homeless
forget his
people.
friends in the coven that work together to maintain the node of hell that they work from to try to drag humanity back to pre-life.
And then of course there's Gary, his Nosferatu friend there. You can't forget
And
him.
don't forget, Gary also has the numbers for the regional head of Pentex Mexico division. So that
What the fuck?
if you hurt Gary, he can get his best friend,
The
friend
Black Spiral
Rodrigo.
Dancers after you. Yeah, Fernando Rodrigo Martinez de Salvia de Lorenzo
The
de
head of the
Mexico
Black
to
Spiral
come and
Dancer
get you.
pack that lives down
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Casually.
Like
But hold on,
I don't even want to go into the characters at this point because it's just like how
there
many
is
ways
good.
can you just say this place is fucked, yo? Don't go here.
This is death.
There is good.
This is death
There's
for
a
any character.
positive. There's a positive. These rejects from the surface world share a special camaraderie, an unsettling companionship that is closer to family than most of the supernaturals could hope to understand. Above, they are rivals in their way, but in the underbelly, all are accepted as equals. The hopes and desires of the underbelly's millions are expressed openly, and all work together to ensure that all are content.
I almost want to see what a version of a bar would look like down here.
Um, I'm just imagining them doing just a fucked up version of Cheers,
Oh God.
where everybody knows your name because the
Everybody
demon of
knows your name.
Oh
because
no,
the
it's
demon
even
of
worse.
thought
No, no,
devours all.
no, you forgot the worst part. They were planning to, when the mortals were expanding the sewage system, all of them cooperated. You had Nephandic magic
Oh
coinciding
no.
with the gnosis of the Black Spiral Dancers, and aided by the network that the Nosferatu Anti-Tribu were working with, to drag it down an extra 5,000 feet. And it succeeded completely. No issue. By the way,
Just
this is
imagining
still
that.
in the first season. It is still considered new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it says the politics. The Hive, Labyrinth, and Warren have merged as time passed. A few of the most corrupt individuals work together, um, joining the Awakened Guru and Kindred in a community that simply should not work, but does the same. The temperament of the various groups are extremely violent, yet they work together well. Too well, as some would say, for an alliance to be completely natural. The most powerful members of each subsection meet once a month to discuss maintenance and expansion of the already substantial Labyrinth, Hive, and Warren. They almost always come up with something new and deadly to use against their mutual enemies, and they almost never argue amongst themselves. So I'm just imagining it's uh, some sort of office meeting, or I guess
It
more like
is, and they're
they have an they have an underground hotel where they're just
Yeah.
you know
Yeah,
developing
why not?
strategies for the next quarter.
and
I
I'm just
instead of
imagining
having
that you
instead of
have a.
having beef Wellington, they just have literal children, and as they're consuming the children, they start talking shop.
I'm just imagining if you have a bunch of werewolves going through and hunting here, they just land into just a completely nice hotel.
I love the
It-
mental image though that the where any normal guru, they don't rage, they because that's the thing. No, unlike usual, it's the flight instinct. They see it, they have to run yipping in absolute terror.
oh,
I'm sorry, but like there's a point where even your spirit instincts are saying, "Get the hell away from here." Oh,
so now
hey,
we go back to
it's
Chorizo Vista.
it's the Children of the Corn or Dead by Dawn.
Yeah. So
I'm already seeing on one of the paragraphs is three chambers exist beyond the barriers that hide the lair. The first is filled with the bodies of Hootsie's victims, and
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like okay. I don't think we need to say anything more here. Like
move on to the denizens.
Do we move on to the denizens or no?
I think that we should move on to the denizens. Basically, that place is fucking weird, and you need to show that one off. But here's your talk about like all the stuff because they have to give mage players an idea of what vampire and werewolf is, and it's not like oh. By the way, there's an Alice in Chains quote on page 42.
Yep.
Yep.
And a
Thank you,
Shakespeare
White
quote.
Wolf. Thank you. There's also a
And there are
Shakespeare
only
quote, yes. But wait, no, Rainer Marco Reek, which is the Soul Strange Mind. Oh, that's a pretty good one. But the one
Hey, there's
I
Quetzalcoatl.
this Quetzalcoatl, yeah, he's trying
Mango
to
Diaz.
destroy the Black Spiral Dancers. Uh, he's
Jesus,
learned
look at
the
his
error of
beard.
his ways. The only way to ascension him is be a one with Gaia. Now he's a technocrat for whatever reason. Don't ask
They
questions.
changed the thing from Rage Across the Amazon.
No, the guy in Rage Across the Amazon was El Dorado, who was a completely
Oh.
different mage.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb. Having Quetzalcoatl
Then
do this is kind of dumb. Actually,
Maria
it's
de
really dumb
Guadalupe.
because looking at him, that they got a mestizo reference. That's not indigenous at all. Good job.
Good job. So
Oh yeah,
there's
his fears
Maria
were
de
bullshit.
Guadalupe.
He's a damn near immortal mage. What do you expect?
Yeah, well, of course he's got forces 5, life 4, mind 4, prime 5. I'm just surprised he doesn't have another one at 5. He's only got 2 at 5. That's a pretty.
Well, they want to
That's
make it
pretty.
so that he can't instantly kill you. He has to try a little bit.
I guess.
A little bit.
I
Uh,
guess.
here's Maria de Guadalupe, which is Man, White Wolf was lucky that this was before the internet was well developed, because this would probably get them canceled now. Let's see what her. Oh wow, her spheres are pretty. She has one
Yeah,
nasty sphere and a couple of pretty good ones.
it was much easier to convince the populace that I was a messenger of God than it had been to convince them that God is dead. Oh, edgy. I've seen the errors that I made in my youth. Why can't the people of Mexico City see the errors that they have made? So, oh, is
They're
she?
literally
Are they
taking
really?
every Mexican national legend or landmark. Oh god, that's. I think this might actually
Well, I
be
mean,
worse than Berlin by Night in a way.
Oh, it is. It very much is.
and then Robert Lawson.
Let's see what he has.
There's some of these are like,
Okay.
yeah, whatever.
Like,
I
I
rule
rule
this
the
city.
city. I am the city.
Compared to these two, no, you don't.
But to hell with all the others say. The city's under control. Sure, the pollution is heavy. Sure, the population is too big. So who cares? The sleepers work, they live, and they die. In the meantime, they have uses that so few can see. Where do you think all the material for the constructs come from? It grows on trees? Hell no. It grows on bones, baby. It grows on human
I
bones.
like that.
Research and development. That's a secret to a good company.
R&D needs guinea pigs, and I provide them. You watch and you wait. Soon enough, you're gonna see what's going down. I got big plans, and they're just ready for the world to see.
And the next is
Dr. Niles Anderson. This is so fucking wild. I love this. All right, I'll read this out. It's all such amazing stuff. And I had more than 24 hours in a day. I would use each and every one of them to study the effects of fusing genetic patterns together. I used to just study the effects of radiation on the human body, but the work wasn't satisfying. I could never get the samples until after I had filled out 1,000 forms and waited for about 100 days. There were just much more understanding about the project to build the perfect soldier, at least until they saw the results. Hey, we all make mistakes. Uh, I'm getting better at it all the time. Just last week, I created a fireproof cockroach. I know. What good is it? Well, it's fireproof. Just think about what that could mean for firemen. And I've extended the lifespan of the common housefly to some 3,000 years. Just imagine the
oh
opportunity to
god,
study its offspring and see just how dominant the new gene is.
Nice.
kill this man, kill him.
The consequences are unimportant. All that matters is knowledge that a thing can be done. Why, one of my greatest successes to date has involved taking a young girl and merging her with fast-growing yeast. So far, her size has increased by over 4,000%. In each part that we slice off continues to grow at just the same rate, and to scream just as loudly as the original did. Just imagine what that kind of applied knowledge could do for world starvation.
It's almost comical.
That's the thing. It's like, what the actual fuck?
Like,
What's his humanity at? And it's not a vampire. Oh, this makes charisma 1.
Yeah. Paradox 7, Arete 7. I
his
don't know if they
paradox as
have a
being 7
morality.
sounds about right.
I think that's the normal though.
Oh, it is. It should be. It should. He should have more paradox
I'm not
points.
sure. I don't know.
All
I
I
gotta
do
say,
Bring
know
them my
is that
mage
this is comically evil.
These next two guys I like.
They're
Well, the next
comically
one,
evil, which is
the
Lisa
next one is literally
Wilbon.
like his simp. The Niles is simp, and then the one after that, I love this guy. I fucking love this dude.
Yes, with Lisa it's saying,
No,
I don't
Justin
care much about
Wadsworth.
genetics, but they fascinate Niles, and as long as they fascinate him, I'll work with them. Anything to make Niles happy. Niles says I have potential, and since I showed up with him, he's always happy to see me. I think that one day we'll get married.
Wait, it
this
gets
is like
better.
comical.
But it's like, I told my friend Angela what Niles said about my having potential, and she told me to leave him for another mentor. She said nasty, horrible things about him. I showed her. Now she's a mushroom, and she screams and screams and screams. Anything to make Niles happy. Anything at all.
He's not going to fuck you.
I
He's too obsessed with his
I feel like
yeast
she was created
problems.
by him.
No,
She
he
wasn't.
wasn't.
She wasn't. She's just.
She sent her ex friend to become the giant yeast lady, though.
I think maybe.
No, he doesn't. Niles doesn't hurt my brain. I will say that you know, things are bad when I'm looking to Berlin by Night for its character roster, and I think it was slightly better.
Berlin by Night's
At least
character roster was fantastic. What are you talking about?
at least
Like,
it had a guy A guy who thought he was Hermann Goring.
Yeah,
It
like
had
there
that.
is a
It had a bunch
cleverness
of
to
other
it.
like minor players and
Yeah,
all this other stuff. And
yeah, but like you know things are bad when I'm looking back to that with fondness. Holy shit. Like this is
Oh, and this guy,
comical.
you're saying Justin Wadsworth?
Yeah,
Let me tell you something. I don't give a baboon's brain about the Technarchy. I just care about getting the perfect body. I only weighed 127 pounds when I came here.
now
Now
look at
look at
me.
me.
I could wrestle a gorilla
Like,
and kick its hairy butt in under 5 seconds. I'm the finest example of a man that exists, and just keep getting finer. I'm out here in a few months, and it's on to Mr. Perfection contest to make my mark among bodybuilders. Who needs steroids and growth hormones when you can rewrite your own genetic pattern? I'm thinking about maybe marketing some of my formulas, but I guess I should test to see how it works on some more animals first. Man, you should have seen the size of that bear I used this on. He's huge! Also a bit moody, so I keep him locked up.
like, this is why I love this guy.
oh, no,
This is a
I
dude
like,
bro. This is a dude bro technocrat.
He's
yeah,
the only
they
one
say
I
this here.
like.
When the boy has finally gone too far, Niles wants to examine his remains and discover just how it is that someone so abysmally stupid managed to awaken.
He's got intelligence 3, so he's not that stupid. But his charisma, I think they mixed up his charisma and his mental talents. His mental and social talents, but because he's got a charisma of 1 and a manipulation of 1.
I still actually I'm not going to lie, I legitimately like the character concept. It's the only one out of here I like as an actual character you can use in a setting.
And the role playing notes. Nobody's home, but they left the lights on. You are a narcissistic moron, and you use every chance you get to flaunt your muscles in front of
No, no,
anyone who
like
will approach.
I like the concept of this character. I think you can use him outside of here. He's the only one that I think actually feels like a human, you know?
Also, just this is the muscle wizard.
Yeah,
He
I like him.
casts fist. That's all he does. Look at his spheres.
Rank 7.
all he does is cast fist.
Yeah, I like him. Like he's the only
Life
one I
4,
genuinely
matter
like.
2.
Oh no, no. Despite having only an intellect of 1 because they fucked up his mental and socials, science 5. So
Yeah,
he's
like
dumb, but he seems dumb until you get to talk to him about organic chemistry, and then he'll run circles around you.
Oh god,
yeah.
the tradition mages.
Oh, these are
So
going to
First
be
tradition
one.
mages
probably fucking
are
terrible.
Bernardino de Sagoon.
there are 10 chorus mages, so that's the ones that they're going to be talking about here.
Bernardino de Sagoon. He's the guy who wrote the Sagoon Codex.
Oh no.
I'm gonna need
I've
something
been
a little
here for
stronger.
almost 600 years. I've hidden myself and I've changed my body a dozen times. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm gonna get something to drink because this is getting awful.
He listens to a bunch of confessions.
I mean, is really the only stuff we have, and I forget, did he also
Thy rod and thy staff
sort of
thy comfort me,
propose
because holy shit, this is awful.
I forget, did Sagoon also propose, hey, let's treat these other human beings with some respect?
I think it was one of the ones that did, but it was one guy that was like,
We're
we should
talking
stop
about
this
the.
with the natives.
It's not him. It's not him, but he was one of
Uh,
several Catholic priests that legitimately were like, "Look, holy
what
shit! Look at what the conquistadores are doing. This is horrible. These people should be taught the ways of Christ, not used to break their backs to farm industry out and die."
they need to learn Christ
But
first, not just be thrown into
that
death.
Well, no, no,
That's
that
the main issue.
they're human beings. They're like I believe
yeah, he understood
it's
that their
credited as one of the
purpose was
concepts
to.
of human rights.
Well, no, he understood their purpose was to like serve their lords and shit, but like the conditions were inhumane, and on top of that, they weren't even taught about Jesus. That's the biggest problem. Ugh. I think Monolene
Uh,
is also another example of what's going to be very offensive.
yes, yes.
God damn it.
Um, oh
Oh
no,
boy.
hold on. Let me see.
She came with Cortez as the the,
I almost
the
vomited.
guise of a soldier and fought as a soldier, and she's out to go and kill Helena, and she's a lesbian. I
What?
That's a Phil Mercado character.
Oh wait,
prove me I'm
Modalina has
wrong.
reshaped her body from male to female and has taken a youthful form as it should be long gone. She's now a spitting image of Helena, despite the fact that the Sabbat have taken poorly.
Wait, Helena as in
Yeah, that
This is a
character.
dude that became
Helena of Troy?
no
No,
the Sabbat vampire that
there's a character in Chicago, not in several of the early splats. That's a big major character. Helena's that. She's important to the meta plot. It's fucking stupid. I'm gonna need something stronger
no,
than
this
what
is
the
a
fuck I
different
got.
this is a different one. This is a different one. That is someone completely different. That's in Chicago. That's not this person. This person is the one that when the one La Sombra chick that came over with Cortez, she made herself in that image.
I
Oh.
walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Fuck.
It
Ah.
is a guy that then became that
Guy
because of the
disguised as
blood
another
bond
as
reshaped
another dude
himself
playing
to
another
be
dude.
the little girl, basically.
Okay, moving on to the
I
Marauders.
fuck.
Actually, the
Oh,
Marauders might be fun.
oh
Um,
no, this first
Here we go.
Raspberry Pop Heart Salad.
salad. These
That is
three
actually
mad
the face
mages
of
have
a
chosen Samuel Haight as the bringer of discord. He is their champion. Be afraid.
Once upon a time there was a wonderful land filled with elves and dragons and oh so many delightful flowers. Then the bad people came and took it away from everyone and put garbage and lemon drops in its place. I like the first part of the story better, so I'm gonna bring it back now.
I like that.
Charles
You know,
Manson on a bad hair day, but replace the swastika with a smiley face.
oh my god, they
Oh,
do! They have the smiley face on
They
them!
did.
yeah, they do.
Uh, but I don't
Remember,
think
Lois needs
probably,
you, and yesterday can be
um,
tomorrow if you all try hard enough. Whenever possible,
probably,
find someone having a bad day and make it worse. Also, be as blatant as you can. Make the technocracy work hard to fix whatever you do whenever possible. The next
hold on one
one, I don't even.
Is
Annoying.
Raspberry connected to Changelings? I know
I
this was
don't
written
know.
before, but
It doesn't matter.
I don't know the
This
whole.
is before Changeling, dude. This is like what was it? The first. This is like the beginning of Revised.
Or
Yes,
so,
so
yeah.
It's the ass end of first edition or the beginning of Revised. Changeling, I
Or
think, was
second.
part
It's
of
it's it's
Revised.
it's early. It's really. This is pretty early. This is like 94 or so.
93.
I want to say 93.
Like,
Really?
Changeling is not even thought of at this point, man.
Actually, what year was this published? Hold up.
93.
Give me a second. 93. So yeah, Changeling is definitely not in existence at this point.
Like, you
Then we
gotta
have-
remember that the meta plot and all the other splats came about slowly and quasi-organically.
Have you ever seen the scream of a mushroom near a dark sun in space? I have. Have you ever felt the songs of the cosmic seesaw teeter-tottering behind you with blood in their mouths and razors in their eyes? I have.
I'm feeling it
It's
right now. I understand exactly how she feels after seeing the nightmare that was the previous. Not Charlie Manson. He's great. This guy's great. The Modalina.
It's possible that larger
destroyed my
women.
brain.
It's possible that larger women exist in some realms of reality, but one would be hard pressed to prove it. It is possible that more feral expression could be found somewhere on the planet, but not likely. On the bright side, she has lovely hair and one of the nicest manicures around. So angry fat woman?
Yes.
I guess.
The next is Peelbach the Mighty. Backgrounds. None today, thank you. Well, okay, but only one. Avatar 5.
Avatar 5.
So after
So-
my shadow had been stolen by the evil Metal King of Nastyland, I stalked away in search of a new friend. I could not find one, but one found me. Peelbach, she said, and immediately I replied, there is that chance, yes, but I shouldn't be too sure. Well, she said, if you do happen to see the five-wing quadrupedus, I would appreciate your delivering this granite-flavored enema to him as soon as convincingly possible. Did
He's naked.
Kirk,
He's
hold on, did
always
Michael
naked,
Kirk,
riding a.
hold on. Did Michael Kirkbride write this as well?
I don't know, but he dresses. He's just naked, and he never ride. He always rides a nice white unicorn. Pay no attention to the feathered serpent behind him. However, that always happens when he comes to this part of the world.
Funnily enough, this is the type of stuff I'd write just if I wanted to write like completely madcap insanity, usually
This is Madcap Insanity.
No, I mean like when I was
This is
like in high school.
This is a
Same
jungle,
energy.
ain't no lie. Look at the people. Bad business covenant can't be denied. John Fogerty, change in the weather. Okay, so this is the Bone Nars, and this is again what's happening. The only Guru who have not fallen to the worm in the city. There's like 10 of them. They're basically all Bone Nars.
Yeah.
They are completely fighting. They follow Quetzalcoatl as their symbol, but it's just a form of the phoenix. Look at this. The name of their leader, though. I love the name.
You know why they use
Father
that name.
Machete. His fetish is in fact a machete.
Yep. I was
He
born in Mexico
bears
City, and I expect to die here. I will not surrender my city to the worm. While others are too cowardly to fight for their belief, then they shall fall before the leeches. We are losing the fight, and most of us are Métis. But we will not surrender, and we will prevail. Gaia be with us, Luna protect us. So yeah, all of
he
them are
has a
also
hair lip.
Métis.
A lot of them, not all of them. Never take the flak back off of anyone. There's a combat zone as bad as the Amazon, but most of the Guru have abandoned you. You do not need their advice, you do not need their remorse, or the embarrassment for having been born a meta. So they want to help, wonderful. If not, to hell with them all.
Yep.
He's 10 foot tall in Krynos and a lean 6'4" in Hominid. He has a hair lip, which hides the fact that he's scowling, because he's scowling all the time.
Then there's
Why
Slingshot.
not?
From there, there's Mother Baggy Pants, who has 3 eyes. Then there's the Wanderer, the Keeper of the Land. Oh, they're a skin dancer. If you're wondering, yeah, the skin dancer, if I recall correctly, is that's the
Yeah, that's that's Samuel Haight's thing.
yep.
Shouldn't they be turned into servants of the worm?
They can be.
Wait, there is these
They're
are
worm
bone Nars
tainted.
that we're talking about here. Wait,
They are worm
unless
tainted,
you've
but there is a ritual. Actually, no. They explain the ritual. Basically, if you've been tainted by the worm, there is a solution, but it involves burning yourselves in the spiritual flames of Erebus in the Umbra.
or something like that.
She went through that ritual.
Who did? Which one? Sorry,
The one I just read, Wanderer. She went through the
Wanderer.
ritual, and that's why she's part of the Bone Nars, because they will take anyone. Razorface.
Wanderer. Oh yeah, Razorface. Adopted bone Nar
Yep.
again. A lupus. He is a
Stay away from the cyber realms unless you're ready for them.
so he. I guess he's just Adam Smasher, but a werewolf.
Neat. You
Why
love to
not?
spend
Well,
time with the computers, and you get along well with the technocracy.
Wait, he's a lupus that likes technology.
he is a cyber wolf.
What
Hell
happened was
yeah.
he went on the proto internet as a young pup, and he's never been the same since.
Well, look at his eyes.
Cyberpunk.
He's got targets on his eyes.
Yes, he does.
Cyberpunk Mexico City edition.
I'll be honest, I like the bone Nars they came up with for this one. There's a kind of
Then
creativity for most of them.
onto the Mexico Kindred. We get
Oh
a
boy.
Nirvana quote now. We get
A lot of
Cardinal Melinda Galbraith, Toreador Anti-Tribu.
Let's see what disciplines they got. Oh shit, Auspex 8. That's Dominate 8 too. Vicissitude 6. Fortitude. Oh yeah, you can definitely tell. Yeah, this is a 5th gen, and you can tell.
Joe Boot Hill. An Assamite anti-tribute.
They exist. They're not common, but they
Yep,
do
they do.
exist.
There is also a Samedi here.
Looking like a Fallout ghoul.
That's what they all look like.
Yeah, there's smooth skin. Yeah. There is a Shamaze. There's, of course, a Malkavian anti-tribute who is the Archbishop.
Oh, by the way, the Samedi, literally a childer of the original Baron.
Fun.
Let's see. Yep, the Nezemize. Let's see what you got.
Then there's a Giovanni as
Thaumaturgy
well.
6 and a variety of paths. Holy shit. Not bad.
Yeah.
I like the with the Giovanni posing as a Ventrue anti-tribute.
Anti-tribute, yeah.
Background. Hey, believe me, when your sire says to
Sorry,
go look into the NAFTA situation, you look into the NAFTA situation. So he told me it would be good for the family, so I listened. Here I am. I'm better armed than most. It's amazing what a dead kindred can tell you if you know how to ask. Little secrets, like all the right codes and gestures that let you slip past any of them stupid hand signals the Sabbat use. You know what I mean? So I've only been here a few weeks when my zombies start acting up. Imagine my surprise when I find out that they're actually my old friends in the Somdi. I hadn't seen them uh, baby since they did Baby Doc and Haiti. Geez, that was a mess for you. So they want a little information, and I need a little help with my research. So far, it's working off just fine.
Yep, he's pretty fun. He's an interesting little character. I find it a. Oh, Archbishop is in the. Sorry, I forgot that's the structure for the Sabbat. Like my head was a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain was a little scrambled because we're talking about
Okay.
Mexico City, which does have its own archdiocese, if I recall.
Delilah Monroe.
Daughter of
Haven, the
Cacophony.
underbelly.
That's not something you see too often.
Uh, so like I was gonna be in a band, okay? And there was this group of really
Really
cool
cool
guys.
guys. And
That's
they
not.
took like
Okay.
hostage and stuff. Only these really fat women in Viking costumes came and killed them, and then took me away from the leftovers, and then they made me a vampire. Only they didn't really ask if I wanted to be a vampire. I mean,
Oh,
how am I supposed to work my tan now? Under the full moon? I'm sure. So I made a best of what I had and started doing recordings and stuff only at night, and then I got into this really cool stuff about devil worship and made some of the major bucks at the dorks that are into that kind of crap, you know? Then we went on world tour and I made sure we only flew at night, and then the plane got fucked up and I ended up in Mexico City. So I met all my new friends. Is that bitchin' or what?
I like her.
I like her.
I like her a lot.
She's
I like Giovanni a lot too. Those are two of my favorites so far.
there's a
Mad Mary.
Yeah,
it's a Malkavian anti-tribute with a chainsaw.
yeah. I was just walking down
No,
the
she
streets
wears
in New
very
York.
little clothing and carries a big chainsaw.
I was just walking down the streets in New York, and this man came up to me, teetering like he was really drunk, and then he pinned me to the wall before I could scream. Kissed and hugged me and pulled out a hank of his own hair. Then he said I reminded him of his mother, and he embraced me. What the hell? I'm not really doing anything anyway.
Uh, Wraiths, then.
Not surprising that there's going to be wraiths. Mexico City has a lot of corpses, so they would have a pretty good presence
Lu-
in the afterlife.
Luisa de la Simone. Um, Killed by her husband on the wedding night because she was uh, a prostitute.
Which has happened more than once, sadly.
And
The
Miquelon the
daughters of
Black
Cacophony
Shadow.
are not the rarest breed of vampire, but they are up there. You don't really see a lot of them, and that's why I'm a bit surprised. Kind of neat,
Well,
though.
this is one of the hubs of vampires in the world.
Especially
Like,
anti-tributes,
there's 200
because...
of them.
Well, yeah, because Mexico City is very populated. There's a lot of places you can disappear people. And on top of that, keep in mind, this is if you've chosen to cut yourself off from your clan, this is where you come. Because what are they going to do about it? You're in a shithole called Mexico City.
Oh, and then we get to the Nafandi.
No, 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 there's one more really cool one. Mictlan, the Black
Oh, yeah.
Shadow. I'll tell you one secret, no more, no less. I could leave here any time I want to. I simply choose to stay. I followed the true Mictlantecuhtli in life. I impersonate him in death. The living are easy prey.
So yeah, that's fun. Your primary goal is to kill all the living and force their souls onwards to oblivion.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yay.
yay.
He legitimately
So
has
so
Got a
named
lot worked
himself
out for him.
after the lands of the dead. What do you expect?
yeah. Oh, then we get to our Nefandi, who are just horrible people.
The rarest are Salubri,
Emilio
Dark Sun.
Santa Emilio
Background. Well, we all
Santa
have our
Lucian.
secrets, don't we? I'll tell you this much, though. I remember Christ's crucifixion fondly.
Where's this one?
The Nefandi, the
Uh,
first one.
In backgrounds?
And it is
Oh, there we go.
background.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it's just there's another area called backgrounds, which is a bit. Yeah.
I think he what is this thing? He's just Nefandi. Okay. Then there is
a cult of Exity, Barabi, Janisha
who
Torreson.
oh, this is that whole meme with the woman liking Tyranids.
Oh yeah,
Well,
and
I have
if
always
you're
Yeah.
been
wondering, the Barabais are the example of those who were reincarnated as.
Oh, ew.
This is the Nefandus whose avatar was always inverted. This is a
Well,
mage.
this
Yeah.
is my first true experience came when I was only 11 and my brother and his friends had their way with me. I cried in shame, but I enjoyed it too. Later, they cried in pain. One nail for each of them, and a hammer was all it took. I awakened later the same year, and I was told I was something of a prodigy. I have found many interesting lovers with the Nefandi, human and otherwise.
Barabai is an example, like I've mentioned. They are Nefandus who reincarnated. Um, they had an avatar, but it was always inverted. So yeah.
Mr. Black, Mr. Dark, Mr. Night, Mr. White, and Mr. Gray. Men
There's
in Black.
Men in Black. Interesting.
They are legitimately just the same people.
Yeah, it's kind of.
That's
Oh, wait, so somebody,
fucking.
somebody, somebody finally agreed to take the name Mr. Black?
Well, it's Mr. Anderson, you know.
I was making
They
a
they have to deal with Mr. Anderson.
Yep, the changing in clothing. That's the only
Yeah.
difference.
Yep.
The men in black that have been reborn in the call are
No.
limitless.
Pandemonium has developed a line of its own and will always use contestants to ensure the men in black are always ready to serve, whether this means rebuilding or rebirthing them. They can be annihilated and return only seconds later carrying automatic weapons. They believe that the rest of the Nefandi believe the men in black serve them. They are sadly mistaken. There's Sykes here, who is
Oh, their background is pretty neat. We served, we were captured, we were transformed. We are not what the technocracy made us to be. We have been reborn, given minds of our own and free will by the pandemonium. We have seen the error of our
Oh.
ways, and we are grateful. If you harm it, you will die. Hail our mother, Pandemonium. Hail our father, Great Shaitan. So this gives some very disturbing hints that they were trying to maybe build flash cloned mages, and the Pandemonium just took them.
Yep. And then we
That's
got Black Spiral Dancers, which we can
ooh,
kind of skip over. They're kind of boring.
that I actually really like the concept for the Men in Black in this case. That's actually like
Yeah. The
neat.
next guy is like, oh, he's a novice mage with Forces 3. Okay.
Yeah, for
Also,
novice
he killed
Force
his
3, I
parents.
guess.
Also, Satan rules. Yada yada
He's lame.
yada. Boring, boring Nefandi.
He's
Then we got the
lame
Black Spiral
compared to
Dancers.
a couple of the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we got the Black Spiral Dancers, who are just they're Black Spiral Dancers.
Yeah, there's not much you can really.
Not much you can say about that. Then we get to the Nosferatu anti-tribute,
Well, no, there's one
which
thing you can say.
Oh.
Their leader was born in Spain during the time of Moctezuma, which okay,
okay.
gets kind of tiring when they're all like a gajillion years old. Honestly.
The Nosferatu are Nosferatu.
Yeah, let's just skip because these
Ooh.
are lame.
Uh,
Hey, Blister.
These aren't
Nosferatu.
very good.
Dear God, what is that thing?
Exactly. Like that's the nature of not. Oh my God! Look at page 71.
All right.
What
What the
is
fuck
that?
is that?
Why is that in this section?
The car.
The turtle car thing.
Oh, that's neat.
That's
Oh
neat, but it's
no,
like, why is that
wait,
here?
it's a Zamisi.
Oh, yeah. It's like a flesh-crafted turtle that he made into like a car.
Oh, that's cool.
All right,
That's cool.
let's go back up to the blister. Oh, one of the many people that was killed in the earthquake.
Yeah, we're just trying to skip through some of these guys because it's like,
Most of them are kind of
oh,
almost painfully badly written,
they're they're
or they're
just
very boring.
they're relatively boring. Like it's Nosferatu. There's one that's sort of interesting,
Wait a minute.
but he's not exactly what I call super interesting.
Yeah, most of them are kind of dull.
Uh, the
I like the Nos myself. It's just that these guys are kind of dull, and they're kind of poorly written because let's be real, Chaos Factor. It's trying to rely on its wackiness to survive. And sometimes that works.
all right,
Sometimes you get some really crazy shit, but sometimes it's just like, oh, okay.
all right. Here's the $1 million question. Do we want to have this section be its own video? Because this is a
Yeah, we're
ride.
halfway through.
Ooh. Let me take a look at the time because
It's been 2 hours.
this is not this is not because I'm going. This is not out of disrespect to you, the viewers. But this is going to be a wild goddamn ride because this is Samuel Haight's last journey.
They also reference everything he's in. We read most of it. I could not find White Wolf Magazine 40. And When Will You Rage? That
Yeah.
Wait, was When You? I think When Will You Rage was a fiction anthology. I think. Could
Might
be
be.
wrong on that.
I think we're gonna have to split it because like it's pretty perfect. We're basically in the middle of the book exactly. And this is a wild ride. This is the story of how Samuel Haight tries to take a satanic Dracula's heart to gain his power.
In Power and Immortality. This is his plan, as we talked
This
about in the
is
prologue months ago.
this is his wild ride. You know the story of his ending. Now you get to actually see it in the next video.
Like, I cannot stress enough how fucking stupid the the entire thing is.
I mean, you can kind of get hints of it just because they decided to piss on the grave of a lot of Mexican icons and its own history.
And
And
it
you know what's
doesn't
something else I noticed
it's
with a lot of the characters? It felt like a lot of them. I don't. It feels like they didn't come from the area.
They didn't, other than the leader of the Bone Gnawers, Machete, and a few of the multi-hundred-year-old Spanish or Aztec people. None of them are really locals, which I think is kind of insulting. Yeah, Mexico City is a large international district. Yes, these societies are wide spanning. But I feel like you probably should have had a few more local boys. Also, you can really tell that they didn't put as much research effort as they could have, like they did for Berlin. It kind of shows
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
final work. I'm not going to give my opinions on how good this book is until we finish the Wild Ride because yeah, next week we're going to finish this.
It's
It's insane.
to give you a sample, they say warning, this can be exceedingly deadly. as an
Exceedingly
adventure.
deadly. No,
But this
you're
is a
guaranteed to run through at least one. You're guaranteed to lose at least one character.
I mean, I think about what we just profiled, right? We just gave you the World of Darkness's rough equivalent of hell. Because that is the only description that can really satisfy what this is, right? It is a portal to hell underneath Mexico City.
To give you an
they say
idea,
that
since I
one or more one or sorry, one or more characters with gifts, objects, or effects that heal aggravated damage are essential.
yeah, you're
Not
guaranteed to lose a character.
recommended. Not recommended. Essential.
If you're wondering why we covered it in Samuel Haight's story, your characters are going through the deepest pits of pandemonium.
You're going there, motherfuckers. You're going there. We only gave you like the rough idea of it.
Yeah, and it's not pleasant. To give you an idea as a storyteller, if you don't actually experience a near party wipe, you're not running the module correctly. You are not running the module correctly. Honestly, a total party wipe where you have to come up with a secondary emergency character, you might lose the secondary emergency character. Because you have to deal with not just a fully powered and quite impressive variety of powerful Nefandi, which includes one that comes back no matter how many times you kill him. Quite quickly, too, might I add. You have 3 very powerful Marauders who legitimately are asking you to be destroyed via Paradox just by being near them. You have a cavalcade of vampires, some of them quite impressive. And you have Samuel Haight, who has a variety of templates stacked onto him.
And let's not forget,
I am
we
not even
have
getting into the Wraiths, because there's only 2 that they mention, but Mictlan can and will destroy you. He is a very powerful Wraith.
They only
and
mentioned
let's not
2
forget that
because there's gonna be a
yeah
lot fucking more.
that have this designed for multi-splat teams.
Yeah,
This is a multi-splat team. You're going to probably have 3 characters, a mage, a vampire, and a werewolf. Don't be
this is
surprised if
the
at least
adventure.
one of them die. Actually, I
No,
would be surprised if both or all 3 die.
no, I think that this adventure was made because there are people that were playing vampire, that are mostly play vampire, right? And there are people that were playing mage, and this was a way to get that vampire player to pick up the mage book. At least the GM to pick up that book and say, "No, okay, vampire player, yeah, you can play with us too."
Just
You know,
make sure you have a second character,
and a third one probably, because
possibly.
oh god,
Um,
this is game design that I
in my opinion, since I did read this, in my opinion, this is a this is the World of Darkness equivalent of the Tomb of Horrors.
I don't think it's the Tomb of Horrors, because the Tomb
Temple
of
of
Horrors is
Elemental Evil.
notorious. Uh,
It is one of the hardest gauntlets that you can probably get through in classic World of Darkness.
to give you an idea, it is a globe spanning adventure
And
that requires an event calendar for the GM to be referring to keep track of all of the moving pieces.
and again, you need to have aggravated damage. This
Healers, yeah.
is easily one of the hardest modules that you can actually run as a storyteller, and it's one of the hardest to get through as a player. If you experience a total wipe, like even if you have secondary characters and you all don't feel ashamed, that's just the nature of what you're running into.
This is not even like a. I mean, the adventure in Berlin by night is one thing, right? That was
That was
a thing they
badly
slapped onto the
constructed.
end. it was slapped onto the end of the book. There was some reference to it in the characters there,
No,
not much of it there.
this one is properly
This is
incorporated.
this is the intent of the book. Like all this stuff about Mexico City. No. That's window setting for this adventure. Which is why I just do not know why this book was made. I really don't. Because
Oh, I know why it was made.
there's
It was to
another
kill off Samuel Haight.
well, partially, but there's another book like I think it's like Shadows of Mexico, Diablerie or whatever. Like there was another adventure in Mexico to go and diablerize like an antediluvian or something similar to one that was in around Mexico. So like I think that is connected with this somehow. I can't remember exactly how. So there's that vampire book as well that is sort of a weird adventure thing, but this one is kind of special because it's like the
Multi-cross. If you have a
it
Mage
is
the
it is
Ascension player who's, let's say the group busted apart and you only have him left, you can slot him into a
yeah.
vampire game with this.
Yeah.
If you have a couple of people who's like, I've always wanted to play like a Get a Fenris or like a Vonar, here you go. You can incorporate them into your vampire game. Or hey, maybe you have mostly werewolf. That's a relative. If you have a guy who's like, hey, can I play as Amici? They could be like, yeah, sure. You want to try to stop Sam Haight from doing something really stupid?
You can't, but you can try.
You're going to die, almost certainly, but you can try.
You know what?
This entire thing is like
I have a question. What old World Darkness flat would be the best to create the Doom guy? Because I'm thinking,
it is literally all right. It's
Hunter's
werewolf
Hunted almost
simply because
certainly
there's
are werewolf.
the rage stat. Like, come on.
If you wanted to keep him pure human, you'd have to use Hunter's Hunted. But if you're just wanting the rage stat, it'd be you'd fluff him as a human who gains augmentations via rage, via werewolf. You'd have to customize it somewhat, but yeah.
what about? Hold on, Dark's saying, what about hunters? Oh, they're dead. Unless
Yeah,
they are somehow
unless they're Hunter of
they
the
have
Reckoning
true
hunters
faith.
and they're really weird. Yeah, maybe.
Hunter the
And even I
Reckoning
even
might survive, but with Hunters, you'd have to play it like Paranoia, where you have a six-pack. You have a six-pack of characters. And don't be surprised if
Well,
all of them
actually,
die.
that would be a fun thing to do. Considering the technocracy doesn't really know what goes on down here, they say, okay,
They're
we're
a little
sending in
bit aware
clones.
things are bad, but yeah, they have no clue.
they're sending in the kill team. You're a bunch of technocracy kill team, which I don't know if that would even work for this, but it would be really funny.
It'd be a fun. I mean, you could just see how far you get along. I don't expect you to
Yeah.
make it far. So yeah, next week it is going to be the adventure splat for the chaos factor. I think you're gonna enjoy it. I know I will. This is a wild ride.